Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Turner Field for Game 1 of the 1999 World Series between the American League champion New York Yankees and the National League champion Atlanta Braves. At this time, let's have a warm and loud welcome for the 1999 American League champion New York Yankees. Manager of the Yankees is number 6, Joe Torre. Here's tonight's starting lineup for the Yankees. Leading off, playing second base, number 11, Chuck Knobloch. Batting second, playing shortstop, number 2, Derek Jeter. Batting third, playing right field, number 21, Paul O'Neill. Batting fourth, playing center field, number 51, Bernie Williams. Batting fifth, playing first base, number 24, Tino Martinez. Batting sixth, in the bullpen, the catcher, number 20, Jorge Posada. Batting seventh, playing left field, number 17, Ricky Leday. Batting eighth, playing third base, number 18, Scott Brocious. And the pitcher in the bullpen, batting ninth, number 26, Orlando Hernandez. And now, get on your feet. It's time to introduce your 1999 National League champion, Atlanta Braves. The manager of the Braves is number 6, Bobby Cox. Starting lineup for the Braves. Leading off, playing left field, number 27, Gerald Williams. Batting second, playing second base, number 24, Brett Boone. Third base, number 10, Chipper Jones. 33, Brian Jordan. Batting fifth, playing first base, number 18, Ryan Plesko. Batting sixth, playing center field, number 25, Andrew Jones. Batting seventh, in the bullpen, the catcher, number 12, Eddie Perez. Playing shortstop, number 22, Walt Weiss. And the pitcher, in the bullpen, batting ninth, number 31, Greg Maddux. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Kindly remove your caps for the presentation of colors, which will be presented tonight by Naval Air Station Atlanta. Also, at this time, cadets and staff from the Southeast Region Air Force ROTC are unfurling the flag in center field. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Kindly remove your caps and to honor America, join in the singing of our national anthem, which will be presented tonight by Grammy Award-winning Arista recording artist and hometown girl, Monica.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regulate the bombs bursting in air gate through the night, that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave?
And Joe Morgan will have the call of Game 1 of the 1999 World Series next.
This has been the E-Trade World Series pregame show.
Baseball isn't measured by time. It's measured by desire. The game moves toward the end, fueled by sweat and blood. And what matters then isn't how long it took to get there, but whether or not you have the stuff you need to finish it off.
The oxygen mask will be released, and in case of a sudden craving for the new chicken club from Burger King, an emergency pouch in the seat back in front of you contains one sandwich.
Hey, that's my sandwich.
Give me that sandwich, lady! Just give me the sandwich!
Everybody's craving the new chicken club. After all, it's a masterpiece of all-white meat chicken, crispy bacon, lettuce, and tomato. Burger King. Have it your way.
Jim Rosh follows his stocks every 20 minutes. Mark Phillips gets sports scores every half hour. Jeff Latrenta plays the hottest new games. And Peter and Carla Wood got the best price on a new car. They do it all at Snap.com. Barb Suprak even has a personalized version of Snap. She gets what she wants when she wants it. And now you can buy on Snap. Gifts, electronics, sporting goods, almost anything. Shop, compare, and buy. The only limit is your imagination. Do it all on Snap.com.
Tonight, Norm Macdonald, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Saturday Night Live.
Mr. Jackson.
What's your first order of business?
I think I'm gonna make a trade.
Phil Jackson arrived in L.A. today.
You got a wish list? Dream team?
I'm still doing my research.
Did you just wake up, pal? Oh, no, it's gonna be that.
You guys don't know anything about Phil Jackson. I drive him.
Hi, Mr. Jackson. So I heard about a trade?
Hot pager. That's probably him now. How you doing? I was just wondering if you could throw me a bone and just, you know anything about the trade?
I'm gonna make it right now.
T.D. Waterhouse, member New York Stock Exchange.
Make the call. Come on.
The Royale on Park, please. Thank you.
Hi, Joe Torre here. Please,
Joe Torre
seatbelt.
is Yankees. Yankees this, the Yankees that. I'm sick of the dang Yankees. Last year was a total fluke. Atlanta Braves team of the decade. Yankees suck. Here we are. I'll see you in October, son. Honey, you look lost.
It offers everything you'd expect from a Volvo. A patented side impact protection system, 4 airbags, even a whiplash protection seating system. It's the price that might be below your expectations. The S40. Volvo in a super concentrated formula.
I will help one client succeed. Then I will help another.
I will seek answers to questions others wouldn't bother to ask.
Je n'aurai pas toujours la solution, mais je réussirai à...
I will rush to the defense of facts.
I work for JP Morgan.
I work for JP
Je
Morgan.
travaille pour JP Morgan.
Trabajo en JP Morgan. I work for JP Morgan.
I love to run.
The 1999 World Series. Tonight, it's Game 1. The New York Yankees versus the Atlanta Braves.
Just this past Tuesday night, this ballpark was the scene for the 6th and final game of a memorable National League Championship Series. Now we turn our attentions to the World Series, and we're joined by Joe Morgan. Joe, it seems strange to say that any team catches a break when they face Greg Maddux instead of the left-hander Tom Glavine, but statistically at least, the Yankees' best hitters do much better against right-handed pitching than left.
Well, that's true, but the Braves starters are all interchangeable in that they could all be #1 starters on any given day.
But all things being equal, you would still rather start a left-hander against the Yankees. And the reason for that is Jeter, O'Neill, and Williams, they're all better against right-handed pitching. So I think the Yankees catch a break here, if you want to call it that, because Greg Maddux is capable of shutting down anyone. But the key for Maddux tonight will be whether he can stay down in the strike zone and keep the right-handed hitters honest and keep them from leaning out over the plate.
Here's something else that sounds strange to say about a 4-time Cy Young Award winner. Speaking of Maddux, and a certain Hall of Famer, he is a lesser postseason pitcher than his opponent tonight, Orlando Hernandez, who has had 5 postseason starts and has performed like Sandy Koufax or Bob Gibson. He's 4-0 in the postseason in his brief major league career, and look at that microscopic ERA, 0.97.
And the thing that makes him tough, Bob, is that he throws any pitch from any angle. And what he does to the right-handers, he drops down and hits the outside part of the plate. The key pitch for him is his changeup. He falls in love with it every once in a while, but that has become his best pitch. And if he throws it for strikes tonight, the Braves could have a problem.
Hernandez was 17-9 for the year. Maddux was 19-9. Let's go to our on-field reporters, beginning with Craig Sager. Craig.
Well, Bob, Tom Glavine never misses a start, and I emphasize never. But tonight he is bedridden with the stomach virus and the flu. Throughout his 11-year career, he has been more reliable than the Courier. Neither rain, nor sleet, nor hail, but in this case, neither a sore arm nor bad knees or broken ribs have ever kept him from missing a start. But in the team's best interest, he called Greg Maddux to make sure not only physically, but mentally he was prepared to pitch the opener. He said, stay in bed, keep away from your teammates, and get ready to pitch in New York. Now over to Bob. Jim Gray.
All right, well, Luis Sojo is not with the Yankees tonight. His father died in New Jersey on Thursday, and he has accompanied his body back to his home country of Venezuela for burial. Sojo did call Joe Torre before the game and told him that he will be back in time for Game 3 on Tuesday night in New York. Now, Sojo was going to back up and replace Chuck Knobloch out in the field. Knobloch had been informed by Joe Torre back in Game 5 at Boston for defensive purposes. So we spoke to Torre before the game, and Torre says now that in all likelihood, Knobloch will stay in the game through its entirety. Bob?
Craig and Jim, thanks very much. Let's go to the Budweiser starting lineup for the New York Yankees. The top of the Yankee order, Knobloch and Jeter, has done a great job all season long setting the table for the middle of that order. Not so of the Atlanta Braves. When we look at their lineup, they have the lowest combined on-base percentage for their first 2 hitters of any team in the National League.
And the key for Greg Maddux, I said, is he'll have to keep the ball down in the strike zone, change speeds, move the ball in and out. He'll be relying a lot on his infield defense because he gets a lot of ground balls when he's throwing well. And Chipper Jones, 17 errors, led the Braves this year. But up the middle, Weiss and Boone and Andrew Jones, all very good defensive players.
This is the first World Series ever between teams that played each other during the regular season. In July at Yankee Stadium, the Braves won 2 of 3 from the Yanks. Maddux to Knobloch, ball 1. The plate umpire is the National League's Randy Marsh. Rocky Rowe of the American League at first. Steve Ripley from the National League at second. The American League's Darrell Cousins at third. Jerry Davis of the National League has the left field line. The American League's Jim Joyce is in right. That's a strike. For all of his greatness, the 4 Cy Young Awards, the 4 ERA titles, Greg Maddux has only been a so-so postseason pitcher. His playoff and World Series combined record is 10-9, way high.
And this year, Greg's control wasn't what it has been in the past. In fact, Greg gave up more hits than any other pitcher in the National League. He gave up 258 hits during the regular season.
His 2-1 pitch is hit in the air to shallow right. Jordan got a late break, but he has time to get there.
That's what he has to do. He threw the first couple of pitches away, then he came in and jammed Knobloch, because I think the Yankees are going to be looking for pitches away as we look at the scouting report. Relies on the movement with his fastball. Uses this changeup, meaning he changes off the fastball. It's not so much the change of speeds, he just changes right off the fastball. And when he gets ahead in the count, he usually gets you to chase something out of the strike zone.
Maddux split 2 decisions against the Yankees in the '96 World Series. Started against them in July at Yankee Stadium and was pummeled. Lasted just 3 1/3, 9 hits, 5 runs. Jeter fouls the first one off. Derek's .349 average was second in the American League. Nomar Garciaparra won the batting title at .357 for the Red Sox. High for a ball. The Yankees are well known for making pitchers go deep into counts, but Maddox is best known for getting ahead in the count. Strike one, strike two. That's the story with Maddox. Hit back up the middle, and Jeter is aboard.
I don't think the Yankees will change their game plan the first time around through the order. I think they'll watch and see what Maddox does because they like to work the count. See, the target's down and in, pitches up and out over the plate, and he rips it right back through the middle for a base hit. Derek Jeter has been hot the entire season, and I don't expect him to cool off here in the World Series.
Now Paul O'Neill, whose broken rib is mending. He was playing hurt in the division series and the LCS. He is closer to 100% now.
Bob, when you have a rib injury, it only hurts you when you swing and miss. If you make contact, you really do not feel the rib.
Ball one to him. A year ago, Greg Maddux was 18-9. This year, 19-9. But in '98, his ERA was 2.22. This year, it's 3.57. So while he's still among the game's best, he's not quite as nearly invincible as he once was. This year, he had his fewest strikeouts in a decade, his fewest complete games in 12 years, his most home runs allowed since 1991. His 1-0 pitch to O'Neill, but first he chases Jeter back again.
And that is the game plan of a lot of teams with Greg Maddux. Try to get your running game started. Make him conscious of the runners at first base. Greg in the past didn't pay a lot of attention to the runners at first. His concentration and focus was always on the hitters, and he gave up a lot of stolen bases. But here in the postseason, I see him giving a little more concentration to the runner at first base.
Jeter's not going anywhere. O'Neill hits it to the opposite field, and Gerald Williams tucks it away. The throw almost got away on the return to the infield, but Klesko alertly is there to pick it up to keep Jeter from advancing.
Well, it was a routine fly ball to left field. And here's Gerald Williams' throw back rather wide of second base, but good back up there by Klesko. Gerald a little excited out in left field.
Everybody's a little excited.
You're right. Everyone but you, Bob. I know that you were not that excited. You're a normal set.
If you don't have an extra adrenaline rush when it comes time for the World Series, they better check your pulse.
Bob, I think Bernie Williams is the key batter, whether he's hitting left-handed or right-handed for this lineup. He's the guy in the middle that keeps things going. And at the top of the order, you have Jeter and Knobloch, who get on base a lot. He becomes the guy, I think, for the Yankees. And he hasn't had a good World Series the last couple of times out. So it'd be important for him to get off to a good start this year.
In fact, in his 2 World Series, 96 and 98, Bernie Williams is 5 for 40. Last year, even though they swept the Padres, he had just 1 hit in the 4 games. And he takes a strike. If you're wondering about Maddox moving up from game 2 to game 1 with the illness of Tom Glavine, he has plenty of rest. His last start was Sunday's game 5 of the LCS at Shea Stadium, so he's working on 5 days rest. He pitched 7 innings in that game last Sunday. Inside corner, 0-2.
Most of the people had success with Bernie Williams by staying away from him when he's hitting left-handed. Maddox goes away on the first pitch, but look at this. Fastball on the inside corner. That keeps him honest. And that's what you'll see from Greg Maddux. In, out, up, and down.
A pitch out, but Jeter remains anchored at first.
Good pitch out on that play. I thought he was going to. He got a good lead, and he may have read the pitch out. But the reason I say it was a good pitch out, because you let the Yankees know that you will pitch out in certain situations when you're ahead in the count.
Jeter stole 19 for the year. He was caught 8 times. He goes on the 1-2 pitch. Here's the throw from Perez. He steals it.
Good move by Joe Torre. I believe you send him because you have 2 strikes on Bernie Williams, and if he makes it, he's in scoring position. If he doesn't, you have Bernie Williams leading off, and you see Jeter got a great jump off of Maddux, and the throw wasn't there nearly in time. Actually, a good pitch for Perez to throw on. He bounces it, but Jeter beats the throw anyway.
As the count goes to 2-2 on Bernie Williams. Just missed the inside edge, and the count is full.
Greg Maddux has his out pitch a lot of times against left-handed pitchers. He starts the ball off the plate inside, and then it moves back over the inside corner. Acts almost like a screwball. That one didn't get back enough.
Bernie asks for time. Tino Martinez waiting on deck. All the arms in the Atlanta outfield are good arms, but Jeter runs very well, and with 2 outs, he'll be off with a crack of the bat.
Good
slice
pitch.
Foul.
That was a good pitch by Maddux, and that's what they want to do. If they can stay away from Bernie Williams, they don't figure he's going to hurt them badly. And you keep him honest by going inside, as he did on the 2-2 pitch. Now this one is moving away, and you see a defensive swing here by Bernie Williams. He's not really attacking the ball. See, that's just a defensive swing because Maddux made a good pitch.
And he struck him out to end the Yankee first. Busted him inside. Williams wanted to know if it was a strike. He swings and misses, and the Braves are coming up. As we look at the Atlanta lineup, for all of his success over his first 2 years in the major leagues, El Duque has not done well against the Braves. He has 2 career starts against them because of interleague play. As you see, Ryan Klesko has owned him, and Hernandez is 0-2 against the Braves with an ERA in those 2 games of 9.72.
There you see the numbers for El Duque on the season. And the thing that makes him tough is that he runs the ball away from some left-handed hitters and then on them. He uses both sides of the plate, and he has an excellent changeup. And I think that's the key to his success, the changeup and staying down tonight. And we take a look at the defense behind him. Chuck Knobloch, 26 errors at second base. That's quite a few. Contrast that with 13 by Brett Boone of the Braves, and even further, Edgardo Alfonso of the Mets only made 5. So right at the top, and he's had a lot of problems with his throws. He had 13, I think, 14 errors on ground balls and 12 on throws. So that's a little difficult there.
If the Yankees take a lead late in the game, it had been Joe Torre's plan to replace Knobloch for defense with Luis Sojo. But Sojo, as we told you during the pregame show, has returned home to Venezuela for his father's funeral. The Yankees are without him for the first 2 games. The commissioner denied their request to add a player to the roster under this special circumstance. So Torre is playing with 24 men the first 2 games and expects Sojo back on Tuesday at Yankee Stadium. Gerald Williams to start it. Ball 1. Williams was in a 1-for-21 dive until he doubled off Kenny Rogers to start the 11th inning of Game 6 Tuesday night and eventually scored the pennant-winning run. A ball and a strike.
I talked to Gerald before the ballgame, Bob, and he says his team doesn't look at him like a leadoff hitter. They do not want him to go up and take a lot of strikes. They want him to jumpstart the offense by getting a base hit. So he is a little more aggressive than your normal leadoff hitter would be.
He's a former Yankee. Dealt from the Bronx to Milwaukee in 1996, just before the good stuff started for the Yanks. struck him out to start the Atlanta first.
And El Duque gets him with a high slider away, sidearm. Let's take a look at the scouting report on El Duque. A lot of different angles, slow curves to right-handers, and he's best when he's pitching inside to left-handed hitters. Klesko hit 2 home runs on breaking balls in Yankee Stadium. We'll see if he attacks him inside tonight. I think he has to throw the fastball inside to left-handed hitters.
And a called strike to Brett Boone, who hit .252 for the season. A ball and a strike. There is some dispute, as we mentioned earlier in the playoffs, about Orlando Hernandez's actual age. He'd prefer to have you believe he's 30. Most folks say he's 34. 1-2. But the key is, even though this is just his second year in the major leagues, he pitched in the biggest games in his native country of Cuba. He was the #1 pitcher there for a long time. He pitched in playoff and championship games there. He's used to pitching when the pressure is on. He drops down sidearm and misses high. I thought Joe Buck put it well during the American League Championship Series. He said the guy who got off the boat and joined the Yankees was a finished product, not a rookie. And he begins the game with 2 strikeouts.
Well, he throws from so many angles, it is very difficult to pick the ball up as quickly as you'd like as a hitter. And that's what is happening so far. Had Gerald Williams chased the high slider out of the strike zone, he drops down to Boone and throws him a good fastball. Boone picks it up late, and he becomes a second strikeout victim.
Now he has to deal with Chipper Jones. Chipper hit 45 home runs during the regular season, most ever by a switch hitter other than Mickey Mantle. He's yet to connect in the playoffs. Foul back, 1-1.
He hasn't hit a home run in 1 month, Bob. That was again, he hit a home run against the New York Mets. He hit 4 in the 3-game series here they had in early September. It's interesting they're having a conversation here, because if you're going to try to get Chipper Jones out with a fastball, usually you like to go inside. He left both pitches out over the plate, and I think he wants to talk to Posada about maybe throwing him a few change-ups or something off speed just to see how he reacts.
Chipper's 2 for 5 in his career with a homer against El Duque. Just off the outside corner, 2-1. It's a chilly night here. 49 degrees, wind chill 31. Inside 3-1. October 23rd is the latest start date ever for the World Series. Brisk wind blowing, as you can see. Jones sitting on a 3-1 pitch and fouling it back. There has never been a World Series game played later than October 28th. If this one goes 7, the last game is scheduled for Halloween. The payoff pitch. He struck out the side. Williams and Boone swinging. Chipper Jones looking.
There comes a coverage of the 1999 World Series is brought to you by American General Financial Group. Live the life you've imagined. By AT&T One Rate 7-cent Plan. One simple rate all day, every day. And by Park Avenue by Buick. Luxury, pure and simple.
A shot of Centennial Park from the Goodyear blimp. Stars and Stripes, based in Pompano Beach, Florida. At the controls is pilot Dick Esch. This ballpark, of course, was the Olympic Stadium before being converted for baseball to Turner Field. The last time these teams met in the World Series in 1996, they were the last baseball games played at Fulton County Stadium. The Yankees won all 3 of them. They dropped the first 2 at Yankee Stadium, then came south and won games 3, 4, and 5. Tino Martinez against Maddox. The Yankees, in fact, have an 8-game World Series winning streak going. The last 4 in '96 and then 4 straight a year ago against the Padres. Two and 0. Down low, and Maddox falls behind Martinez. 3 balls and no strikes.
And Bob, if you're a Braves fan, maybe it's a good omen that Greg Maddox starts tonight. He started in '95 when they won their World Championship. He beat Cleveland 3-2 on opening night.
He walks Martinez on 4 pitches to start the Yankees' second.
Very unusual for Maddox, especially to a leadoff hitter. But you can see he threw a lot of pitches with a lot of movement. I think he was trying to get Martinez to chase one, and he wouldn't. A lot of movement on those first three fastballs he threw. And this is un-Maddox-like as well. 11 strikes and 9 balls in 20 pitches.
His first one to Posada, a double play ball to Boone. He flips to Weiss for 1 on to first, and they turn it 4-6-3.
When Maddox is at his best, he gets a lot of ground balls. And he will always get you the ground ball when he has runners on base. That's how he comes out of any jam that he might find himself in early in the ballgame. See that ball sinking down and away? Posada tries to pull it. Perfect. 4-6-3.
So you throw 4 bad ones to Martinez, but 1 good one to Posada takes care of the mess. Here's the left fielder, Ricky Leday. As a rookie last year, he went 6 for 10, including 3 doubles in the World Series against San Diego. He would not have played tonight had Glavine started. Chad Curtis would have been in left. A high fly ball, shallow left field. Williams in and toward the line to complete the New York second. No score after 1.5. Game 1. Braves games during the course of a season are played in weather conditions like this. It's downright cold for game 1. Ryan Jordan, Ryan Klesko, Andrew Jones in the bottom of the second against Orlando Hernandez, who struck out the side in the first.
And Bob, a scouting report that they give you on a pitcher sometimes can hurt you the first time through the order. I guarantee you they told him that El Duque throws a lot of curveballs and changeup. He came right out with the fastball and retired 3 straight hitters, struck them all out. He's used his fastball more than they probably said he would in the scouting report.
And he falls behind Jordan 3-0. In the Monday LCS clincher at Fenway Park, Hernandez threw 138 pitches, his highest pitch count of the season. Working tonight on 4 days rest. Called strike, 3-1.
And he doesn't want to walk Jordan leading off the inning because Ryan Klesko is next, and he's had a lot of success against El Duque.
You deal in understatement, my friend. 5 for 5 with 2 home runs. The 3-1. Hit in the air to right center field. O'Neill for the catch. Here's a look at some of the damage Ryan Klesko did at Yankee Stadium off El Duque. As Joe mentioned earlier, both were curveballs, and he jumped on them.
And we'll see how he pitches him here in this ballpark.
Down low for a ball. I'm reminded with Paul O'Neill making the catch on Brian Jordan's line drive, the last ball he caught in the postseason in Atlanta ended Game 5 of the '96 World Series. Out of play with runners at first and third in the bottom of the ninth of a 1-0 game, and the series tied 2-2. John Wetland trying to finish it, and Luis Polonia smacked one to right, and O'Neill made a fine running catch to end the game and send the Yankees home with a 3-2 lead. Then they won Game 6. 2 balls and a strike.
One thing that El Duque is doing very well tonight, he's using both sides of the plate, whether it be for a left-handed hitter or a right-handed hitter.
And Klesko hits it deep to right, but not deep enough. O'Neill will take it.
And that's the pitch that he needs to be effective against left-handed pitching. Fastball in, and he jams Klesko. Hides the ball very well, 3/4, and he gets in on his hands. It was in a good location almost for Klesko, but not quite out over the plate enough, and he jammed him. And O'Neill is able to make the catch.
First time Hernandez has ever retired Klesko. Now he faces Andrew Jones and starts him with ball 1. That one's in there. Jones is homerless in the postseason after hitting 26 in the regular year. 2 of them in July at Yankee Stadium. He lays off. They want to check it first, and no, he didn't go around.
One of the things that Jones wants to do is make sure he gets a good pitch to hit a strike. He will go out of the zone a lot of the times. That pitch is out of the strike zone, but he's able to check.
He drops down sidearm, and Jones fouls it back. Now the 2-2. And that'll make the seats.
And that's what the Yankees will try to get Jones to do, is go out of the strike zone. That pitch was up and out of the strike zone, but Jones with 2 strikes chases it. El Duque throwing a lot of fastballs. I mentioned this one's up out of the zone. You see Andrew takes a hack at it.
And he hangs in there at 2-2. With nobody on base, Orlando Hernandez is working at a much brisker pace than we usually see him work. But when he gets in a jam, he's very deliberate. Another foul. Hernandez with that very distinctive scissor kick delivery. He kicks that left leg so high he could plant a kiss on his knee if he wanted to.
That helps him to hide the ball, especially from right-handed hitters.
Good battle between Hernandez and Jones.
When he kicks up real high, now watch, this is what the hitter sees. Nothing but knees. That's all you see as a hitter. You can't find the ball. And it lets him hide the ball a long time, and you only find it once he gets it out in front of him.
Another 2-2 pitch. Full count to Andrew Jones. Just as it was on Tuesday night when his patience paid off and he got the pennant-winning walk from Kenny Rogers.
Straight over the top curveball, overhand curveball, something that he doesn't throw very often to right-handed hitters. He'll do that to left-handed hitters, but not very often will he throw a a right-hander an overhand curveball.
Here's the 10th pitch of Andrew Jones at bat. And Jones wins the battle, drawing a 2-out walk.
And that was a very good at bat for Jones, in that he showed the Yankees that he's going to have more patience here in the World Series than maybe had throughout the season. And Don Baylor has talked to him all during the season. Hey, you need to be more patient. Make them give you a pitch to hit. Don Baylor's also credited with Chipper Jones hitting for more power from the right side. He said he made him more aggressive, swinging a little harder and getting better results from the right side.
And all these Atlanta hitters will be without Baylor next year. He'll have his choice from at least a few offers to manage. Cubs, Brewers, Angels, Indians, all said to have at least some interest in Don Baylor. Now Eddie Perez, the MVP of the National League Championship Series. He went 10 for 20 with 2 home runs against the Mets. This after a .249 regular season with just 7 homers.
El Duque works at holding runners tight because, you know, when he has his high leg kick, you feel like you can steal a lot of bases on him. But he actually releases the ball pretty quickly to the plate, and he concentrates on keeping you close at first base.
Jones gets back. Among the Yankee starters, only Andy Pettitte is truly effective at holding runners, and he has one of the best pickoff moves in the majors. Pettitte is the starter for Game 3.
And the Braves did have a lot of success against the Mets in the LCS.
Look at his eyes.
18 for 22.
He bluffs the go, and time was called before the delivery.
One of the things that El Duque will do to stifle the runners at first base is he'll hold the ball a little longer. And when you do that, sometimes the hitter gets anxious, and that's why Perez called timeout. But he varies his delivery time. He'll hold it one time. Next time up, he'll just go right to the pit, his chest, and throw the ball to the plate.
Now he comes home, and it's up and in. There was a time when Eddie Perez was just known as Greg Maddox's personal catcher. Javi Lopez was the regular otherwise. But then at midseason, Lopez went down with a knee injury, and Perez became the regular guy. American League Championship Series MVP delivering to the NLCS MVP. And a called strike, 1-1. Perez is 31 years old, spent 9 years in the minors before being called up in 1995. He's never gone back. Game of cat and mouse with Andrew Jones edging away from first. Not going, and Perez is way out in front, 1-2.
This is the pitch that El Duque is famous for. He drops down and throws a sidearm breaking ball, and Perez just chases it. Way out in front, and the ball is way off the plate. That's a very deceptive pitch if you're a right-handed hitter.
Here's the 1-2, and time again was called at the last instant.
And Hernandez very upset with this one because he felt like he didn't hold it as long as he did before, and he was about to release the ball, and that the umpire called timeout rather late.
As we told you, as soon as someone gets on base, El Duque's pace becomes about as deliberate as any pitcher in the major leagues. 1-2 pitch, hit deep to left, down the line, and in the seats foul.
Let's take a look at this last pitch. El Duque dropping down a lot on Perez. That ball's caught the outside corner. Perez hits it down the line, but it goes foul. If you're a base runner, anytime a pitcher drops down to throw sidearm, he gives you a little more time to run than he does when he throws from 3/4.
And another 1-2 pitch, but first Jones has to dive back again. Andrew Jones on the brink of stardom, still only 22 years old, leads away from first with 2 out. Not going, and Perez goes down on strikes. The 4th K put in the book through 2 innings of work by El Duque. No score after 2 at Turner Field.
Atlanta tonight, you're looking at a heater in the Yankee dugout. Turner Field doesn't have any heaters. They've never needed any heaters, but it's below freezing with the wind chill factor tonight. So this afternoon, the superintendent of Turner Field went out and rented a bunch of heaters tonight. They didn't want to buy them because they don't feel they'll ever need them again, but the weather forecast, Bob, is for cold temperatures again tomorrow, and they certainly need them tonight. Up to you.
Jim, thanks a lot. A ball and a strike to Brocious. Well, everything has its price. When you expand the playoffs without shortening the regular season, when all the games are played at night for a larger primetime audience, you're going to get some games played under weather conditions as you move to late October that are less than ideal. Hit toward the hole, an opposite field single for Brocious to start the Yankee third.
It's a high fastball from Maddox, and we talked earlier his need to stay down in the strike zone. This is a high fastball. Brocious, good high fastball hitter, goes the other way with it. Good hitting there by Brocious.
And now up comes El Duque, who of course seldom bats, being in the American League, but in interleague play this year he was 1 for 3. The one hit was an infield single. We'll see how good a bunter he is. He squares and gets it down in front of the plate. Chipper Jones picks it up. Good sacrifice by Hernandez.
Well, you wouldn't want to teach your young players to bunt like this. He kind of stabs at it, but it makes a good stab and he gets the job done. And watch this. He kind of stabs at it. That's not the way you bunt. You stick the bat out, try to catch it, but any way to get the job done. And El Duque does the job.
In a sacrifice situation, isn't it true, Drug, you're supposed to almost be pulling the bat back toward yourself slightly, like you're catching the ball to deaden it on the bunt.
Yeah, you're supposed to try to catch the ball on the barrel of the bat and kind of punched at it. But again, if it works.
We're not arguing with the results, so Brocious is in scoring position with 1 out. Here's Knobloch, who fly to right to start the game. On the first pitch, he chops one foul. Behind the bag, Klesko gloved it, but a foul ball.
Let's take a look at Knobloch here. He gets a high fastball, as Brocious did. Tries to go the other way, but he gets it fouled. Pitch again up from Maddox. Knobloch late on it. Hits fair and bounces foul before it gets to first base.
Knobloch, the 91 American League Rookie of the Year with the Twins, played on the Minnesota team that beat the Braves in the World Series that fall. Foul to the seats. When you talk about this team of the decade stuff, you have to take it with a grain of salt. It's really about franchise of the decade. Only 2 Braves remain from their first World Series team in '91, Glavine and Smoltz. And in fact, there are only 7 Atlanta Braves even left from the team 3 years ago that lost to the Yankees, and only 12 Yankees return from that World Championship team of '96. A liner to center. Andrew Jones closing ground on it, makes the catch. So maybe the mythical trophy should go to the organization of the decade, huh?
Well, I think that's basically what you're saying, is that it's the franchises themselves that have kept these teams at the top of their game. But the one thing to remember about the Braves is that the nucleus of their ball club is still together, and it's always been their pitching staff, their starting pitchers. And Maddox, Glavine, Smoltz, and at one time Steve Avery.
If the question is sustained excellence, it's already case closed. Right. The team of the decade is the Atlanta Braves, but the Yankees have a chance to win their 3rd world title in 4 years and to do it twice at Atlanta's expense. Here's Jeter, single and stole a base in the first.
Well, do you measure it by games won in the decade, or do you measure it by championships won? And I think that's the key. Jeter single on a fastball out over the plate in the first inning. Maddox tried to get that fastball in on him, and he fouls it out of play.
Brocious at second with 2 down. That one's low, a ball and a strike.
When Jeter first came up, he would swing at a lot of bad pitches. He chased pitches, especially up and in, low and away off the plate. Now he makes sure he gets a good pitch to hit every time he goes to the plate.
That's how you hit .349. One of the Three great shortstops gracing the American League now. You can throw in Omar Vizquel at a different stage of his career, especially for the glove, but I'm thinking Garcia Parra, Rodriguez, and Jeter. Fastball up and in, 2-1.
That was a purpose pitch. He wanted to throw that fastball tailing in to let Jeter know that he can't lean out over the plate, because Maddox feels probably that his best pitch is a sinker away from Jeter if he wants to get him out. Like that.
Bouncing ball to Boone. As sure-handed as they come, and he throws him out. To the bottom of the third. No one's broken through yet in game one.
Number 22.
Looking around Turner Field, it's 335 down the line and left, 380 to the gap in left center, 400 to straightaway center field, deeper to right center, 390, and 330 down the line and right. Generally speaking, the ball carries pretty well from the lines toward the gaps, but from gap to gap, it does not carry well here at all. Walt Weiss starts it in the bottom of the third, and that one floats in there for strike one. That second inning included a 10-pitch battle with Andrew Jones, who waited him out for a walk, hence the total of 24. He gets ahead of Weiss, 0-2.
That's the pitch that makes him so effective against left-handed pitching, the fastball in, because you have to be conscious of that pitch, and then he throws you a slow curve or a change-up away, and you're automatically a little bit out in front because you're protecting against the inside fastball.
Weiss hit just .226 during the regular season. A bit better than that in the playoffs, and he's a good glove man. Jose Hernandez and Ozzie Guillen are among those on their bench, both of whom can play shortstop. 2-2.
Both Ozzie Guillen and Jose Hernandez contributed to the Braves LCS championship.
Hernandez with a big pinch hit in game 6. Got him looking for his 5th strikeout.
Let's take a look at the pitch sequence here that he uses to Walt Weiss. A good overhand slow curve, fastball in on the hands. That opens up the outside. He misses, stays out there again. Now here's the strike 3 pitch. That's a beautiful curveball right around the knees.
A ball to Maddox, who's always been a good hitter. He's had higher averages than this year's 172. But perhaps taking his own advice from the commercial that chicks dig the long ball, he went deep twice this year. Leaving him only 60 plus behind McGuire and Sosa. Fouled off, 2-2. Joe Torre says that Orlando Hernandez reminds him of Juan Marichal, the great Dominican right-hander for the San Francisco Giants, with the wide repertoire of pitches and the command of all of them. Some guys can throw 5 or 6 different pitches, but they can only throw 2 or 3 of them for strikes. Not so with El Duque. Then when you throw in the deceptive delivery and the various arm angles, he's a nightmare, especially for right-handed hitters. I guess that missed, but I don't see how. Full count.
Well, El Duque started his walk toward the dugout. He thought it was strike 3.
That would have truly been premature, though. Since there's only one out, here's the 3-2. Well, he finishes him with the next one. He struck out 6 of the first 9 hitters he's faced. And folks, you can log on to MSNBCSports.com as the Reds' Barry Larkin provides constantly updated analysis of the key plays and strategy in tonight's game. You can also exchange email with Barry during the game and access TotalCast for a real-time box score and visual graphic on the location of each pitch. MSNBCSports.com, the official website of NBC Sports. Williams bluffs the bunt and takes the strike. Exchange email with Barry Larkin. Dear Barry, do you like Cincinnati? Do you stay there in the offseason? Where are you staying in Atlanta? Strike two.
Bob, El Duque is throwing much better tonight than what we saw him throw in the opening game of the division series against the Texas Rangers. He is very sharp tonight.
Is he ever? He strikes out the side for the second time in 3 innings. 7 for the game.
Oh my God.
El Duque, razor sharp through his first 3 innings of work. Hasn't allowed the Braves a hit. Only one man has reached. Andrew Jones had a walk in the second. And he struck out 7. Greg Maddux set to face Paul O'Neill, Bernie Williams, and Tino Martinez in the 4th. Tomorrow night before Game 2 here at Turner Field, they'll unveil the all-century team as selected by a fan vote, supplemented by some additional selections from a panel of experts. O'Neill fouls it off. Greg Maddux just missed making that team. He was just beneath the cutoff in the fan vote. Roger Clemens, who with 5 Cy Youngs has 1 more than Maddux, and who will start Game 4 at Yankee Stadium for the Yanks. There he is. Clemens is on the all-century team. Threw it by O'Neill upstairs, 0-2.
Well, he threw a fastball away, and I think, watch O'Neill, see if he starts out to get another fastball away. So he starts out there, and then Maddux releases the high fastball in, way out of the strike zone. Unusual for O'Neill. He doesn't swing at that many bad pitches.
He flied to left his first time up. Beautiful. And Maddux dispatches him on 3 pitches.
Well, that's the screwball-like fastball we talked about earlier. He tried it on Bernie Williams in the first inning and wasn't successful. Now watch where this ball starts. It's way off the plate. Look at that, it's way inside. Then all of a sudden, look at it, it starts to move back toward the inside part of the plate. Beautiful pitch there. And that's the pitch that he uses so effectively against left-handed hitters.
O'Neill not happy. He, of course, familiar with Maddux from all of his years in the National League. And then there have been interleague games the past couple of years and the World Series of '96. 1-0 to Bernie Williams, who struck out to end the first, and he steps out of the box. Two balls and no strikes.
Bernie Williams is a very streaky type hitter. When he gets in a streak, I mean, he's very difficult to get out. So I think it's very important for the Braves to try to keep him down at least the first couple of ball games before he gets to Yankee Stadium, because he's the key to their offense.
He rips the 2-0 pitch into the glove of Ryan Klesko. That was blistered, but Klesko was right there.
And the good part, though, if you're the Braves, watch where the pitch is. Maddux keeps the ball down, which is what he wants to do. He gets this pitch up, and Bernie Williams probably would have hit it out of the ballpark. Gets the ball down, and he hits a line drive. If you're Maddux, you don't really care about the line drive. See, that ball's down, so he doesn't get it in the air. Nice play there by Klesko.
How much does a scorcher like that sting on a night like this, as chilly as it is?
It would hurt more if you were a regular fielder. He's got a big web in that glove.
Oh, that's true.
Base.
He's not using that little mitten that you used to use at second base.
Or any other infielder. But look at that big web. It's got plenty of room in there.
The 1-0 pitch to Tino Martinez. Goes the opposite way. Gerald Williams retreating, not quite to the track to take it. Maddux makes quick work of the Yankees in the 4th. Terrific duel shaping up between Maddux and El Duque.
Coverage of the 1999 World Series is brought to you by Keystone Light, America's never bitter beer. By Chevrolet Trucks, the most dependable, longest-lasting trucks on the road. And by Daytech Online. The rules of online trading are changing.
Again, the view from the Goodyear Blimp Stars and Stripes. Goodyear currently maintains a fleet of 7 blimps, 3 domestic and 4 international operations. And a look at the way El Duque has been operating in the postseason. He is hanging out now with some of the great names in baseball history, including his own teammate Mariano Rivera, but all of that is out of the bullpen, of course. That's his updated career ERA, 0.90 in the postseason, a fraction better than Sandy Koufax. But of course, all of Koufax's postseason appearances were World Series games only. El Duque has the Division Series, the LCS, and now the Fall Classic. 1-1 to Brett Boone.
And Bob, the first game we saw him pitch in postseason this year was against the Texas Rangers. He got by that night on just his guile and knowing how to pitch. Tonight, he's not only getting by with his guile, but he has great stuff. He's got a great fastball that's live and moving. He has a very sharp curveball. In fact, he's throwing fewer changeups than you expect because he has such good stuff. He has such a good live fastball. He's not using his changeup nearly as much as you anticipate.
And he fans Brett Boone for the second time tonight. He's faced 11 hitters, and 8 of them have struck out. Let's go to Craig Sager.
Well, the Braves are now the second time around in the order against Hernandez. Like a basketball coach during a timeout, hitting coach Don Baylor huddled each one up and went over what happened the first time they were up. And as Joe Morgan pointed out, it was fastballs. Chipper looked at a fastball for strike 3. Don Baylor said, take some pitches, make some adjustments. Bob.
First one to Chipper, down and in. Perhaps it's not too early to mention the World Series record for strikeouts in a game, 17. Bob Gibson in 1968 for the Cardinals. Chipper Jones gets under one. It's a question of fair or foul. Down the line. Gone! The first hit off El Duque is Chipper Jones' first home run of this postseason.
And Bobby did make an adjustment. Remember, the first time up, he struck him out with a fastball in. He had set him up better, but what does Chipper Jones do? He looks for a fastball in. That's where a hitting instructor is so valuable, telling you to go up there and make adjustments to how they got you out the first time up. And Chipper made an adjustment and drilled the fastball out of the ballpark.
A towering fly ball. And a 1-0 Atlanta lead. Strike 1 to Brian Jordan. Exactly a month since he last touched one off. Jordan, who once played for Yankee manager Joe Torre in St. Louis, flied to right his first time up. 2-1.
It's always interesting to see how a pitcher reacts after a guy hits a home run.
Brian Jordan drives one to right. Paul O'Neill is back there to take it. Another look at the ball that Chipper Jones jacked out of here.
And remember, he struck him out with a fastball inside the first time up. He goes inside again, even though he wasn't supposed to. And Chipper Jones ready for the fastball inside, and he's able to keep it fair down the right field line. And he gives the Braves a 1-0 lead.
Now Ryan Klesko, who flied to right in the second. Broken bat comebacker. El Duque to Martinez. But the Braves are on the board first. Chipper Jones, the likely National League MVP, gives them a 1-0 lead after 4. It sounded good. It looked good. It's on the board. 1-0 Atlanta. Maddox staked to a slim 1-0 lead as we go to the 5th. Posada, Leday, and Brocious due for the Yankees. Hard to imagine the Atlanta Braves winning this World Series without a major contribution from Chipper Jones. They got by the Astros and the Mets without Jones doing the sort of thing he did throughout the regular season. He homers in his second at-bat of this game. The bat is shattered. Boone scoops it up. Posada's retired.
Bob, this is what happens when pitchers make mistakes to good hitters. The pitch is supposed to be outside. Watch where it is. Inside. Chipper drills it down the line, and for a moment there it looked like it might go foul, as you see the ball there, but it stays on the fair side of the pole, and it's a home run. Now watch El Duque. He says, my fault. My fault. I was supposed to get the fastball away. I got it in. And that's what happens when you make good mistakes against good hitters.
6 umpires in postseason play. Jim Joyce of the American League on the right field line, right on top of it to make the close call, but the correct call. Ricky Leday with a mile-high pop. Weiss, the wind's playing with it to the middle of the diamond, and finally he makes a one-handed catch. A swirling wind made that an adventure.
Well, we saw that earlier in the ball game. The wind is coming in. Looks like it's moving from the foul pole in left field towards the foul pole in right, but it must be swirling a lot on the infield. You see, Weiss thought it was going to be well out there on the infield dirt, and he ends up running in by the pitcher's mound, and he makes the catch. That was a big league pop-up, and the wind made it more difficult.
2 quick outs. Here's Brocious, who poked a single to right his first time up. Brocious, last year's World Series MVP. Had a huge postseason overall, batted nearly .400 with 4 homers. Came back to earth a bit this year, .247 with 17 home runs. Last year was the season of his life. He hit .300 and knocked in almost 100. 1-2.
And the one thing you have to notice with Greg Maddux tonight is that he has not thrown any curveballs and only a couple of sliders. He's throwing the fastball and changing speeds on the fastball.
That one's up the middle for a base hit, the second of the night for Scott Brocious.
Another fastball that he got up, not exactly where he wanted to throw it, and Brocious with 2 strikes grounded back through the middle for a base hit. But if you watch, he's just not throwing very many curveballs. See, that's a fastball that he wants to start off the plate and sink out there, but it didn't sink. It was up, and Brocious does a good job of grounding it back through the middle. Now watch Maddux. He's won Gold Gloves almost ever since he's been here in Atlanta, and he just barely misses that ball.
And if nothing else, it accomplishes this. It gets Hernandez out of the way and gets them to the top of the order for the 6th inning. Maddux, as a matter of fact, has won 9 consecutive Gold Gloves. Quickly ahead of El Duque, 0-2. We asked Joe Torre about Hernandez as a hitter. He described him as a whale and bail guy. I guess you bail first and whale second. He bails, he wails, he pokes it to second. Boone flips it to first, and the Yankees are done in the 5th. The Chipper Jones home run has Maddux and the Braves in front, 1-0.
NBA 2000, are you ready?
Get excited for a special Monday Friends.
It's like it's coming right at me.
Friends, plus an Only Veronica, NBC Monday.
The Braves won 103 games during the regular season. The Yankees, after the tremendous year in '98 when they won 114 and 125 if you count the postseason, slipped, if you can call it that, to 98 regular season wins. But they clearly were the 2 best teams in their respective leagues, and now they meet in a much anticipated World Series. 1-0 Braves, bottom of the 5th, game 1. Andrew Jones to face Hernandez. Called strike 1. Andrew walked his first time up. The nickname El Duque means, as you might guess, even if you don't speak Spanish, the Duke. Hit hard, but right into the glove of Brocious, who snares it at third.
It's a breaking ball that he leaves in the middle of the plate. He hasn't done this very often, and Andrew Jones rips it, but right at the third baseman, Brocious. Brocious, very good third baseman. He's ready for that one.
Here's Eddie Perez. Ground ball foul. Orlando Hernandez is actually the second El Duque. The first was his father, Arnaldo, who was, according to those in the know, kind of a middling player. Pitched some, played some infield in Cuba.
You see him directing traffic out there. He's telling the infield to move over, because I thought they were way off the line for a guy like Perez when they're going to throw him a lot of breaking balls and changeups. And El Duque said, hey, move over a little bit. Brocious still didn't move, but...
(0-2) to Perez. El Duque has some real presence about him. He's a charismatic guy. He's got that distinctive style. He's a high-kicking, high-pants-wearing son of a gun. The circumstances of how he got to the States, defecting the day after Christmas in '97, his background in Cuba, the fact that he doesn't have a full command of English yet, which keeps a distance between him and some of his teammates, it all adds to the mystique that surrounds him. Perez stays alive.
When you mentioned the mound presence, I thought about the other Cuban-born pitchers who have pitched in the Major League: Camilo Pascual, Luis Tiant, Mike Cuellar, and his brother Levon. All of them have a special presence when they stand on the mound. I mean, you keep your eyes on them the entire ball game.
And Perez strikes out for the second time, and that's 9 in 4 2/3 for Hernandez. Tomorrow night, you're not going to want to miss the World Series pregame at 7:30 Eastern as NBC Sports and MasterCard bring you the All-Century Team ceremony. Hank Aaron, Ted Williams, Willie Mays, they'll be among the living legends in attendance for that ceremony. The MasterCard All-Century Team tomorrow during the World Series pregame, 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific, only on NBC.
And the hammer, Hank Aaron, will throw out the first pitch.
And the biggest ovation should be his. It'll be interesting to see what kind of reception Pete Rose receives. I think it'll be overwhelmingly positive.
I think it would have to be, since he was voted on the team by the fans. So I think that, you know, most of the fans must have felt that he deserved to be here.
He was 9th among the 9 outfielders voted in by the fans. A 10th, Stan Musial, was added by the panel, somehow overlooked in the fan voting. What an outrage it would have been if Stan the Man was excluded. 1-2 to Walt Weiss. That one missed. 2-2. 17 or 18 of the 30 members of the All-Century Team are living. They are all expected to be here for what should be a goosebump-raising ceremony prior to Game 2. 2 out, nobody on. Braves lead at 1-0 in the last of the 5th. And a chopper down to Martinez. Covering is El Duque, and he works a perfect 5th inning. Back to Turner Field after this.
So what'll happen?
This is what pizza is supposed to be. Dripping with so much cheese, you got to fold it to eat it. And man, it is New York big. 16 inches across. How do I know so much about New York pizza? Because New York, I want to be your next senator.
The big New Yorker pizza from Pizza Hut. Big enough to feed all your constituents at a very un-New York price.
$9.99. What do you think this is? Arkansas?
The big New Yorker pizza for Pizza Hut. Another one of the best pizzas under one roof.
Don't wish for it.
Well, with Luis Sojo unavailable for the first 2 games, Don Zimmer, who was an infielder, perhaps getting ready just in case they need him, or perhaps for luck, doing what he always does with Derek Jeter's bat in an inning in which Derek is scheduled to hit. You saw him hand it to the Yankee shortstop as he walked by. Jeter's on deck as Knobloch starts it in the 6th. Ball 1 from Maddox.
And a lot of little things have an effect on the outcome of a ball game. Last inning we saw Brocious get a base hit on 2 strikes. That allowed Hernandez to bat. And now you have the top of your order up here in the 6th inning. And that's exactly the way you set your lineup up, because that's what you want. But very rarely does a leadoff hitter get a chance to lead off an inning other than the 1st inning.
Joe Torre, who of course managed in the National League with the Mets, with these Braves, with the Cardinals. Broken back ground ball, backhanded by Chipper Jones across the diamond to get Knobloch.
Interesting change of strategy there by Maddox. I talked about the fact he hadn't been throwing many breaking balls, but he throws 2 here in this at bat. There you see that's a curveball from him to Chuck Knobloch. Knobloch pulls it. Chipper Jones near the line because he knows the breaking ball is coming. He's able to backhand it and to throw across the diamond to retire Knobloch for out number 1.
Jones had some problems with the glove earlier in the playoffs. Nice play there. Here's Jeter, who's 1 for 2. The Yankees have 3 hits against Maddox. The Braves have only 1 off El Duque, but it was a 4th inning homer by Chipper Jones. Tapped foul, a ball and a strike.
And you see the adjustment that Maddox has made. He's throwing more breaking balls now. Most of the guys are going up there looking fastball, changeup. Now he's starting to throw more breaking balls. Jeter out in front.
Fastball in on his hands, and Maddox gets ahead of him 1-2.
That was a great pitch there. It looked like that ball really started to chase Jeter. He had to swing at it or get hit. Watch this pitch. The ball. Watch the rotation. Look at it. It's turning in and just running in on his hands. He has to fight it off just to keep it from hitting him, which opens up the outside corner, of course.
2-2. One of the perplexing things about facing Maddox is that he will throw any pitch on any count. Such is his command of his entire repertoire. The 2-2 to Jeter. Struck him out looking.
And the fastball that chased him was the one that set that pitch up there. Let's take a look at the pitch sequence. Fastball he thought was a strike, off the plate, way inside, just off the plate. Now watch this, just on the outside corner. Anytime you throw a fastball in and you jam a hitter, the hitter always tries to protect against that pitch coming in there again, and that always opens up the outside part of the plate. And no one does it better than Greg Maddox.
O'Neill is flied out and struck out.
And our scouting report on Maddox says he uses a lot of movement with his fastball because that's his main pitch. And all you have to do is just watch at home. You can see the movement on every pitch that he throws.
Down low, 2-0. Derek Jeter still trying to figure out what Maddox did to him. Derek, you have lots of company. He's had hitters shaking their heads for a decade. Two and one to O'Neill.
And you can just see the movement on that pitch. Watch where this pitch starts. It looks like a good pitch to hit. Starts to look like it's almost in the middle of the plate. Now watch the movement. It just really dives away at the last minute, and O'Neill ends up swinging at a bad pitch.
It's the late movement on so many of his pitches that's really a key. Called strike, perfect place on the corner, 2-2. You know, it seems like Maddox has been around forever, yet he's only 33, and he's already won 221 career games, so he's got a shot at 300 before his career is over. Control like that is what's made him the pitcher he's been. O'Neill just taps it weakly. Maddox picks it up. He'll tag it himself, and he works a perfect sixth. To the bottom half, still 1-0.
has a way of frustrating you as a hitter. Paul O'Neill, not a good swing, chops the ball down the first baseline. Now watch, Maddox comes over to tag him, and watch O'Neill's left elbow. He shoots it out, and I think O'Neill's saying here, hey, throw the ball to first base, don't tag me. There's a little frustration there from being dominated by Maddox in that at bat. I think a lot of hitters would have done that, though. You don't like to have a pitcher come over and tag you as you're running to first base.
Here is Maddox at the plate. 1-1 the count to him. All of the Atlanta starting pitchers are such good hitters that they were vying to work the first 2 games so that they get a chance to bat. You go to Yankee Stadium with the DH and the bat is taken out of the pitcher's hands.
I'm not so sure that Maddox wants to run up there against El Duque, though, because he's dropping down and throwing an assortment of breaking balls.
I'm not so sure Ted Williams would want to run up there, although at least he hits left-handed. Maybe DiMaggio would be the better example. He's so tough on right-handed hitters. Coming up on NBC.
Monday, it's NBC's second great Law & Order series. Critics call it something special. How? Gripping and well-made. Don't miss an all-new Law & Order Special Victims Unit, NBC Monday.
The strikeout of Maddox was the 10th for El Duque. We're just in the 6th, and with 1 out, the hitter is Gerald Williams, who was fanned both times. Can't catch up with the fastball.
Well, he's been able to drill the outside part of the plate with the fastball. And if you're a right-handed hitter, when he drops down, you automatically give a little bit, and that opens up the outside corner for him.
From the sidearm angle, a little chopper up the line, and now it's Hernandez's turn to tag the batter runner.
That was a good play by Hernandez, because if he catches it and tries to throw over Gerald Williams, he may hit him as he's running down the line. So this shows how good an athlete Hernandez is. He feels his position well, but he's a great athlete. Watch this chopper. Watch it. Immediately he's off after the ball. This ball was going to go foul, but he doesn't let it go foul. He grabs it, then he makes the tag. And watch it. This ball would have gone foul right here if he wouldn't have gotten to it so quickly. And Gerald Williams tries to avoid the tag, and you see El Duque put a 2-hand tag on it.
Both of tonight's pitchers are truly excellent fielders. They become, in effect, a 5th infielder after the delivery. I was speaking the other day with Roberto Gonzalez Echeverria, who is the Sterling Professor of Spanish and Portuguese literature at Yale, who wrote the book, the definitive book on Cuban baseball called The Pride of Havana. And he tells me that on a night like this in Cuba, many residents will fashion their own antennas to try to pull in the telecast of the game. And they'll certainly be listening to it on the radio. That this ball game tonight, with El Duque working, is the #1 focus of interest on the island of Cuba, the baseball-mad island of Cuba. Brett Boone fouls it back. He has struck out in each of his first 2 at-bats, and now he's in an 0-2 hole.
So much for El Duque being a warm weather pitcher, Bob. He pitched a great game against Cleveland in the cold weather last year, and he's pitching a great game tonight in the cold weather.
Waste that one high and away.
The Yankees were trailing 2-1 in that series with Cleveland last year, and I thought his game was the most important game of the Yankee season.
Did Boone check his swing? He did. Posada was already trotting off, but it's 2-2.
Well, let's take a look. Watch the barrel of the bat. Don't watch his hands. Just watch the barrel of the bat. And you can see he kept the barrel under control.
He pokes this one to short. Jeter's got it and throws him out. 6 innings quickly gone by in game 1, and a 1-0 Atlanta lead.
A forbidden love leads to an epic battle. Randy Quaid and Whoopi Goldberg lead an all-star cast. Leprechauns, NBC Sunday in 2 weeks.
If you watch the following commercial from Multex.com, you'll notice several things. 1, that you could win 4 tickets to Game 4. 2, it's kind of funny. And 3, if you win the Game 4 tickets, you can watch the series without any more TV commercials. You see, everybody wins.
Mr. Hyde, what should investors expect from your company?
Right now, we're very excited about the new designs for our products. We expect to achieve substantial savings through our ongoing restructuring efforts. And the possibilities for us in the new millennium are limitless.
And what about your role, sir?
Well, I just hope I can contribute to the success ahead.
Before you invest in a company, read between the lines. More research, more analysts. Free. Join Multex.com, the investment research network. Join Multex.com today, and you'll be registered to win 4 tickets to Game 4.
With Joe Morgan, Bob Costas back at Turner Field. If you're just joining us, Tom Glavine was scratched from his scheduled starting assignment in Game 1 with a stomach virus. Greg Maddux moved up a day, and what a duel he's involved with Orlando Hernandez. 1-0 as we go to the 7th.
Well, any of the Braves starters can be the #1, pitcher on any staff they're on. So the fact that Greg Maddux started in place of Glavine, the only difference is one is left-handed, the other is right-handed, but they're very similar in their approach to pitching. They basically both use the outside corner very well.
Bernie Williams will start it, followed by Tino Martinez and Jorge Posada in the 7th. Warren Spahn, a member of the All-Century team, threw out the first pitch at tonight's game. Braves fans going back to Milwaukee and Yankee fans, at least those who have reached middle age or beyond, will recall that in 1957 Warren Spahn was scheduled to pitch the 7th and deciding game of the World Series at Yankee Stadium. He turned up ill and was replaced by Lou Burdett, who on 2 days rest stepped in for Spahny, there's the great left-hander, and shut the Yankees out in Game 7 of the '57 World Series.
And so far in this ball game, Greg Maddux has been able to stay away from Bernie Williams until he gets ahead of him, and then he comes in on his hands. I think the Braves feel like if you stay away from him, he's not going to hurt you nearly as much as if you try to come inside early in the count.
Here's his 2-1 pitch. 3 balls and a strike.
And Maddux wanted that pitch. You see him shake his head right there. I mean, he was upset because it's a very important pitch. 2-2 is a lot different than 3-1. Now watch Maddox's reaction. Right there, he shows you his frustration with the call.
And now he walks Williams to start the 7th.
Big difference between a 2-2 count and a 3-1 count. When you have a guy like Williams at the plate, you see Bobby Cox yelling. He said that pitch wasn't low, the 2-1 pitch. And he knows that Greg Maddux doesn't want to give in 3-1 to Bernie Williams, so 2-2 pitch was very important.
That might have caused a few lip readers in the audience to blanch.
I didn't really read them, Bob.
I thought one of the expletives was unmistakable. Tino Martinez has walked and lined out. Strike 1 to him. Bobby Cox was ejected 12 times this year. That led the majors.
And we saw Bobby far more animated than usual in the series with New York.
The last time these two teams met in the World Series, Cox was tossed from the last game, Game 6 at Yankee Stadium in '96. Line foul, 0-2. Joe Torre, flanked by his coaches, Mel Stottlemyre, the pitching coach, and the bench coach, Don Zimmer. The 0-2 pitch. Misses, but not by much.
Maddux is getting a little upset himself here. Early in the ball game, Maddux was getting a lot of pitches up, and he gave up a couple of base hits on high pitches. But here you see just off the outside corner. And it appears to be off the plate outside.
All Although fast, Bernie Williams is not regarded as a particularly good base runner. He stole 9 bases this year and was thrown out 10 times. Still 1-2.
We talk about, you know, Hernandez making a mistake and Chipper Jones hitting the ball out of the ballpark. Well, that was a mistake right there by Maddox, but Martinez fouled it off. Every time you make a mistake in the ball game, they do not hit it out of the ballpark. Now watch, he doesn't want this ball right there inside. You see Perez having to reach back and drops his head. He knows that he got away with one right there.
Klesko had to scoop that one out of the dirt. Williams at first with nobody out, top of the 7th. Yankees trailing 1-0. There he goes. He's got a good jump, and Perez won't even throw.
Tough pitch to throw on, Bob. He got a good jump, but the ball was sinking down and away. Not a good pitch for Perez to throw on. Bernie gets a good jump. Now watch where the pitch is, down and away, but he slides in safely without a throw. Now watch where the pitch is. This is tough for a catcher to do. Dig the ball out and make the throw, and you see he lost it in the transition there. That's why he didn't throw.
And Martinez goes down on strikes. It got away from Perez, and Perez makes a good play, running out toward the middle of the diamond to make sure that he looked Bernie Williams back before completing the strikeout by throwing to first.
Watch the movement on this pitch from Maddox. This is the key to Maddox's success. I mean, this pitch looks like a strike halfway to the plate. See, it looks like a strike. Now look at the bottom falls out of it. Just great movement. Tino Martinez swings at it, and Perez does a good job of holding. So that ball at one time was a strike. It was above the knees halfway to the plate, but he has such great movement on his pitches that by the time it got to the plate, it was strike 3.
So in a 1-0 game, the minimum the Yankees were hoping for was that Martinez could pull a ground ball to the right side, get Williams to third with 1 out. He couldn't do it. Here's Posada.
In the 3rd inning, let's take a look at the pitches up. Ground ball, base hit. He was getting some pitches up early in the ball game. Now look at him. See, that's the difference. He has found his zone, and he's been able to keep these hitters off balance much easier than he was early in the ball game. There's a lot to be said about getting good pitches early, because once they get their rhythm, they're in control of the game.
Posada hits it in the air to shallow center, backpedaling his Weiss from shortstop, and he squeezes it.
And that was an intentional fastball up. He wanted to get Posada to chase something out of the strike zone. He had thrown him a fastball in, and then he threw this one up and out of the strike zone. See, this pitch is up and out of the zone. Posada can't catch up with it. See the scowl on Posada's face. He knows he went up and out of the zone.
Now it's up till a day. In these non-DH games in the National League City, the Yankees are without the bat of Darryl Strawberry, except off the bench as a pinch hitter. They won't use him in the field. He hasn't played a single inning in the outfield since they brought him back to the big club. Popped wide of first. Into foul ground goes Klesko. He has no play. Strawman awaiting his turn. He's got a bat just in case. Ramiro Mendoza, Panamanian right-hander who was so effective in the ALCS against the Red Sox, getting ready. The 0-1 pitch to Ricky Leday.
And you can just watch Maddox at work there. I mean, every pitch now has a purpose. That pitch there was in under the hands. The first pitch he threw him was in under the hands. Now he has him exactly where he wants him, 0-2.
Down and in for a ball.
Well, he tried that screwball fastball. It starts off the plate inside, let it move back to the edge.
He's got his grip, and he fans the ball.
Same pitch.
Second strikeout of the inning, fifth of the game for Maddox.
Remember, compliment.
And the first time up, he struck Chipper Jones out with a fastball in. He set him up by going away. He strikes him out. The next time up, he's trying to go away the first pitch, and he gets it back on the almost same spot he struck him out with, and Chipper makes him pay for that mistake. 1-0 Braves.
Chipper Jones, whose dad, Larry, idolized Mickey Mantle. Chipper is a switch hitter partly because of that. Jones himself had a chance to meet Mickey a few years ago when he was just coming up to the major leagues. First pitch is high, and as we mentioned earlier, the 45 home runs by Chipper Jones this year are the highest single season total for a switch hitter by anyone other than Mantle.
They tried to start Chipper off with a fastball in just to show him one and then go away with a changeup. He missed with both. Now it's 2-0.
Dangerous pitch for El Duque, and he leaves it low. When Mantle met Jones, he gave him a personally autographed photo, which Chipper sent to his dad. And his dad, Larry Sr., calls it one of the great thrills of his life. On 4 pitches, El Duque hands him a free pass to start the bottom of the 7th. Another view from the Goodyear Blimp Stars and Stripes. If it's a big sports event, you can bet the Goodyear Blimp is there.
We talk about the 2 key hitters on both squads. One was Chipper Jones for the Braves. The other was Bernie Williams. And we've seen how they pitched to them this late in the ball game. Maddox got behind Williams and he walked it. El Duque got behind Chipper Jones, so he ends up walking him. They're not going to give in this late in the ball game.
Jones runs on the first pitch to Jordan, who fouls it back.
Let's take a look at the jump that Chipper Jones gets. I'm not sure if it was a hit and run or not. Not a good jump because he was frozen there. Maybe it was a hit and run. You see him look back very quickly. I guess it was a hit and run. Bobby Cox said he would probably hit and run a lot in this series.
Chipper's a good base stealer, 25 of 28 this year. Back easily. The right-hander is Nelson. The lefty, Mike Stanton, the former Atlanta Brave. Jones with a short lead at first. And Jordan pops it back of short. Jeter at the edge of the outfield grass to take it.
And you see how El Duque is holding Chipper Jones now. He just sit there and held the ball for a long period of time. And a lot of pitchers believe that will keep the runner from breaking.
Now Ryan Klesko, who prior to tonight had been El Duque's nemesis, but in this game he's fly to right and tapped to the mound. Apart from Chipper Jones' home run in the 4th inning, I can recall only one ball hit hard against El Duque tonight, as Brett Boone and Brian Jordan try to figure the right-hander out. Andrew Jones lined hard to Scott Brocious at third base in the 5th. Apart from that, El Duque has been masterful. Another pop-up, and Brocious wants him. 2 out.
Let's take a look at El Duque when he is in his regular windup. on the left and when he has a runner at first base. See, he just hides the ball completely, high leg kick. Now watch the leg kick on the right. This is with a runner at first base. Look at that short leg kick. And he gets rid of the ball quicker. Good job of changing up by El Duque.
So Jones remains at first now with 2 out, and here's Andrew Jones. Andrew has had 2 good at-bats against Hernandez. Worked a full count walk and a 10-pitch at-bat back in the 2nd, and then lashed the line drive to Brocious in the 5th. John Smoltz, who is scheduled to start Game 4 at Yankee Stadium against Roger Clemens, tossing in the bullpen. He's been used twice in relief in this postseason by Bobby Cox. There goes Chipper Jones on the 0-1 pitch. Posado's throw. Got him. Chipper Jones cut down to end the 7th. And the taut 1-0 duel moves to the 8th at Turner Field.
Three motorcycles passed here. 3 men, 2 women, all carrying Visa cards.
Maybe become a
How do
dummy?
you know that, grandfather? Because Central Law's Motorcycle Adventures doesn't take.
American Express.
Central Oz will take you to a place beyond your imagination, but they won't take American Express. Visa, it's everywhere you want to be.
This is my daddy. He's a Gemini man. He fixes cars. He can fix anything. People like my dad. He says it's because they trust him.
Gemini Automotive Care, only where you see this sign.
When work ends, what begins? Will it be panic or pleasure? At American General Financial Group, Alvalic Financial Advisors help over 1 million people turn hard work into a retirement big enough to hold their dreams. It's never too early. It's never too late to start, and it can make all the difference. American General Financial Group. Live the life you've imagined.
When you've got Schlotzsky's on the brain, there's not much room for anything else.
Enjoy the power and beauty of your youth. Don't worry about the future. Sing.
Finally, a minivan to live by. Introducing the all-new Mazda MPV.
NBC Monday.
Oh, my God.
A co-ed murdered.
We could be looking at 2 attackers.
Superstar athletes accused. A secret tradition exposed.
Hostesses offer hospitality.
Angie Harmon guest stars.
What did they call it before the terms date rape and sexual harassment?
Boys will be boys.
All new Law & Order Special Victims Unit, NBC Monday.
Let's watch this steal by Chipper Jones. He doesn't get a great jump, but it appears he still gets in there as Knobloch tags him up by the knee in super slow motion. You can see that he's in there, and Knobloch tags him up by the shin. Very close play at second base. And the umpires do not have a super slow motion camera out there.
Scott Brocious starts it in the New York 8th, and he's 3 for 3. They have 4 hits, and 3 of them are Scott Brocious singles. That is it for Orlando Hernandez. Darryl Strawberry heads for the batter's box. Now we'll see whether or not Bobby Cox has a counter move, but John Rocker was not throwing. At least a moment ago he wasn't, so Joe Torre gets him in the game before Rocker gets in the game. The left-handed closer for the Braves.
And at second base, you can see Walt Weiss telling Maddox that he's going to be on the right side of the bag, even though he's going to take the throw if a ground ball's hit back to him. You see him here, but he's still going to take the throw.
Ball 1 to Strawberry. John Rocker has just begun to throw just this moment in the Atlanta bullpen. Springer the right-hander, Remlinger the other left-hander. Brian Hunter is in the game for defense, replacing Ryan Klesko at first for the Braves. The defensive alignment has Weiss and Boone both on the first base side of second. And the third baseman, Chipper Jones, is at what normally would be the shortstop position. 2-0 the count.
And you see Maddox making a real conscious effort to get the ball in on Strawberry. He doesn't want him to get anything out away from him where he can extend his arms.
3-0. Strawberry had homers in both the division series against Texas and the LCS against the Red Sox. He had only 49 regular season at-bats and hit 3 home runs. He is still obviously a feared hitter at age 37. Called strike, 3-1. He walked him. Runners at first and second, nobody out.
Well, Maddox definitely trying to get the inside part of the plate against Strawberry. See this pitch in, and it's ball 4. And Maddox very upset with himself that he ends up walking Darryl Strawberry.
Straw is done. Drew the pinch hit walk. Chad Curtis runs for him.
And this is a situation that Joe Torre a lot of times will sacrifice in this situation with Knobloch in the top of the order. Maddox and Chipper Jones have just conferred on how they will handle the bunt if it's bunted toward third base.
He squares. He bunts foul. Both Joe Torre and Bobby Cox, each of whom has managed in both leagues, were emphatic in the days leading up to this World Series about how much they each preferred the National League style, the non-DH style. They both say unequivocally that it's just a better game without the DH. And anyone who watched the NLCS could hardly argue with that. All the lineup maneuvers, all the in-game strategy. Looking to bunt again. Gets this one down. Well placed. Hunter has to make a good play, and then it squirts out of his hand. The bases are loaded.
Well, that was a good job by Chuck Knobloch. Greg Maddox was breaking off toward the third base side in order to make a play at third base. Brian Hunter is coming in, and he bunts it right back through the middle. Now watch Maddox. He will go over here. See him start over there? So he can't field it. It's a tough play for Hunter, although he comes up with it, but he rushes and is not able to make the throw to first base. That was a good bunt by Knobloch to thwart what they were trying to do. Maddox was definitely going to cut anything off at third base.
A good play by Hunter to glove it, but then he's charged with the error as he can't make the throw. Sacrifice E3, bases loaded for Jeter, who fouls the first one off. Jeter is singled, grounded out, struck out.
And in this situation, the Braves are going to play back. Of course, they have a 1-run lead. They're trying to get out of this. They're hoping for a ground ball double play.
The 0-1 pitch. And Maddox gets ahead of Jeter 0-2. Paul O'Neill will be next. Rocker getting ready. Leo Mazzoni, the pitching coach, rocking back and forth as he always does next to Bobby Cox. And the 0-2 pitch from Maddox to Jeter. He wouldn't chase it. 1-2.
Maddox struck him out on a sinker away the last time up, so he tries to get him to chase something off the plate. This is a very good 0-2 pitch. If Jeter swings at it, he's not going to be able to do anything with it.
Hit toward the hole and through for a base hit. Brocious scores. Curtis is stopped at third. A wise decision by the third base coach, Willie Randolph. They still have the bases loaded with nobody out, and at the very least, El Duque is off the hook. They hit for him in this inning. The game is now tied, and the Yankees still threatening, bases loaded, nobody out.
Well, the one thing to watch for is look at Jeter. He's going out there to get the pitch away. Maddox gets it up a little bit, and he rips it in the hole for a base hit. And Jeter has done this all season long. And the one thing about the Yankees, they keep coming at you all the time. And if you give them any help, like a fumble sacrifice or a base on balls here issued by Maddox, I mean, they just keep coming at you. And if you give them any help, they usually take advantage of it.
Maddox had a 3-hit shutout going into the 8th. Brocious started it with a sharp single to left. Strawberry walked as a pinch hitter. Knobloch's bunt was misplayed by Brian Hunter, loading the bases with nobody out, and then Jeter spanked one through the hole to tie the game at 1 apiece. Maddox is done. Rocker's coming into a bases loaded jam, and we're coming back.
Eeny, miny, blow. This Christmas, everything, yes, everything, is getting blown up. From Trimount Studios comes the $200 million event of the year, Blow Up. Oh, my. This movie's gonna blow. A Michael Harper film, a Trimount Studios production.
It's time for E-Trade, the #1 place to invest online.
This is my daddy. He's a Gemini man. He fixes cars. He can fix anything.
These guys hit 165 miles per hour. They take off. When he hits 165, he just turns left. Real American heroes come to NBC. The NASCAR Pennzoil 400 this November.
John Rocker, the high-energy left-hander who turned 25 less than a week ago, had appeared in 9 consecutive games and really needed the few days off between the end of the LCS and the start of the World Series, comes in with no margin for error. The Braves bring the infield in against Paul O'Neill. Bases loaded, nobody out. O'Neill hit only 190 against left-handed pitching this year. Over 300 against righties. Swings and misses.
And that's the key pitch right there for Rocker. Toward the end of the Mets series, his fastball wasn't as live as it had been earlier. And the 3 days rest, I think, helped him get his fastball back. And even though he's a left-handed pitcher and he has a good curveball, that fastball is the key to him being able to handle left-handed hitters.
Switch hitter Bernie Williams is on deck. Then the lefty swinging Tino Martinez. Strike.
In between the pitchers being taken out, Bobby Cox was out yelling at the home plate umpire. He was very upset. He thought he missed a lot of pitches in that last inning for Greg Maddux.
Curtis, who ran for Strawberry at third. Knobloch, who reached on an error at second. Jeter, who singled home the tying run at first. And the 1-1 pitch. Up and in, 2-1. Let me ask you this, Joe. Were you surprised that Cox didn't have either Remlinger or Rocker already warmed up when Strawberry came off the bench earlier?
Yes, I was surprised, but I think he must have felt that Greg Maddux was getting better as the game went along, because normally he would have had a left-hander ready for Darryl Strawberry.
Crucial pitch on 2-1. Misses, and it goes to the backstop. Curtis started toward the plate, but it ricocheted right back to Perez, and Curtis slammed on the brakes.
That was a great base running play by Chad Curtis. You're taught that when the ball goes into the ground to take a step toward home, to start right away, right there. And, I mean, he started in, but this ball bounces right back to Perez. And this is a great base running play because once you commit, you're usually going. Watch Curtis. Now he takes off. I mean, this is an excellent play there by Curtis. And so the Yankees still have the bases loaded with no one out.
With 2 out, maybe you try it. Not with nobody out.
There's a ball on the field in right field, and the ball boy runs out to get it.
With no place to put him, Rocker has fallen behind O'Neill 3-1. The Yankees take the lead. Knobloch waved home. Jordan's throw cut off by Hunter. He pokes it to third, but Jones can't come up with it. Jeter had a notion to head home, but now dives back in as O'Neill takes second while all this is going on. And the Yankees are in front 3-1.
Good job by O'Neill. He worked himself into a hitter's count. He gets a 3-1 fastball. It's middle of the plate in, and he's able to get around and pull it. You see, pulls it in the hole because the infield's drawn in. You do not have a lot of range, and this gets by Boone before he can react. And there's the base hit. See, Derek Jeter leaping over Boone. Now he decides he's going to third. They cut the ball off. Not a good throw by Brian Hunter. And the Yankees have a couple of more runs. Now it is a 3-1 lead.
With first base open, they walk Bernie Williams intentionally. And they'll take their chances with Tino Martinez. So Martinez, who had a grand slam in Game 1 of last year's World Series. And here it is at Yankee Stadium off another left-hander, the Padres' Mark Langston. Generally speaking, Martinez has not hit well in the LCS and World Series. He's sub 200 for his career at this level of play.
He's a funny type hitter, Bob, in that just when he's starting to look bad, all of a sudden he comes through with a big hit for you.
A hit here would break the game open. Infield in, and it's fouled off. The Braves brought Brian Hunter in for defense in this inning. He's been charged with 2 errors. On his throw to third, he didn't get Jeter, and that's what allowed O'Neill to move from first to second. Jeter at third. O'Neill, who had the big hit through the drawn-in infield at second. Williams, who was walked intentionally at first, with the coach there, Jose Cardinal. Three on, 3 in, and still nobody out. Rocker's 0-1 pitch is in there. Three singles, a walk, a sacrifice, a couple of errors, an intentional walk. Yankees making lots of noise in the 8th. Martinez goes down swinging.
That's why Rocker's effective against left-handed pitching. He gets ahead of you with the fastball, and then he gets you to chase the breaking ball. This is not a great breaking ball, but with 2 strikes, it breaks out of the zone, and a lot of times left-handed hitters will chase it if he's ahead of them in the count.
Posada is a switch hitter. He turns around to bat from the right side. Most of his at-bats during the course of a season are lefty. Joe Girardi would generally start when a left-hander starts against the Yankees. Swing and a miss for strike one. Posada was 0 for 3 against Maddox. Now the infield moves back looking for the double play. Fastball is high, 1-1. Inside, 2-1. In that Atlanta dugout, they're already thinking, well, if Rocker can keep this reasonably close, then we'd better get something done in our half of the 8th, because in the 9th, we'll be looking at Mariano Rivera.
On the left is Rivera.
The 2-1 to Posada. 3 balls and a strike. Ricky Leday scheduled next. Left-handed hitter. Joe Torre has already used Chad Curtis as a pinch runner in this inning. Called strike, full count.
See that number right there, 21-5. They've outscored their opponents from the 7th inning on. And really, that's the sign of a veteran team that makes adjustments as the game goes along.
The 3-2 pitch. He went off speed and got him looking. Posada can't believe it.
I think that pitch surprised everyone in the ballpark. John Rocker has a good enough fastball that he can throw it 3-2, but he comes with a curveball. And watch the delayed reaction by the home plate umpire. And you see the reaction of Posada. He says, no way. But again, they're looking for a fastball, and here comes a curveball.
Now pitching for the game, number 13, Jim Lewis.
Joe Torre thought he had the bases-loaded walk that would force home a 4th run. Now he goes to his bench and sends up Jim Leyritz, right-handed hitter. You can see him there motioning toward Leday. Come back, Ricky. You're done for the night. Now he's already used Curtis as a pinch runner, so Curtis will stay in the game and play left when we move to the bottom of the 8th. They check it first, and Leyritz did go around for strike 1.
Let's watch the barrel again. No doubt he went on that swing. Tried to check it a little too late.
Swings and misses at high heat. Leyritz has always been a dead fastball hitter.
Unless you hang a curveball or a slider, ask Mark Wohlers.
Yeah. Game 4 in '96. Yankees come back from a 6-0 deficit to win it and even the series across the street at the old ballpark. Leyritz took Wohlers deep. That last Rocker fastball was clocked at 98. Here's his 0-2. Inside.
A lot of pitches for John Rocker. 21 pitches here in the 8th inning. In relief of Greg Maddux.
The 1-2 pitch. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Leyritz. Rocker, just a bundle of energy out there. Look at him. He can hardly contain himself. He says candidly, I wish I was good enough to be a football player. He likes the more constant action and the contact of football. So it just turned out I'm a better baseball player than a football player. But I'd rather play for the Falcons than the Braves.
There are a lot of Falcons who would rather play for the Braves.
One of them is Brian Jordan, I guess, who left football behind. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Full count. Just about everybody in Turner Field was waiting for Randy Marsh to punch Leyritz out.
Well, it's another curveball. He starts it off the plate outside. It breaks. Looks like it might be a hair low. And you see Perez raising the glove.
So after getting ahead 0-2, the count is now full. 3 runners will take off on the pitch. They go. Here it comes. He walks home a 4th run.
Well, he tried a 3-2 curveball with Posada and got it over the plate. He tries another 3-2 curveball with Leyritz, and it's ball 4, and he walks in a run. He had just missed 2-2 with a curveball. Comes right back with it again. And I think it's the same call from Randy Marsh that it is low. You see that Leyritz had been frozen. He was looking for a fastball.
So he had him 0-2 and he lost him. The Yankees have batted around. Here's Brocious, who started the inning with a single. Scott is 3 for 3. Cuts and misses for strike 1. Ball and a strike.
And Brocious, as he was in last year's World Series, off to a great start, and he's been the key batter in this entire ball game. He's 3 for 3, but he started this inning off with a base hit that got Greg Maddux in trouble immediately.
That one broke sharply down and in. 1-2 the count. Trying to get out of a nightmare 8th for the Braves. Not just yet. 2-2. O'Neill had a big hit in this inning at 3rd. Williams away from 2nd. Leyritz, who forced home the 4th run with his walk, is at 1st. And the 2-2 pitch. Full count now to Brocious. Chad Curtis, who ran for Strawberry, is on deck. The runners go, and Brocious strikes out. The Yankees sent 10 men to the plate. 4 of them scored. They take a 4-1 lead to the bottom of the 8th in Game 1 of the World Series.
That's them. Naughty little beavers.
Chad Curtis, who ran for Darryl Strawberry, stays in the game and plays left field. Out of the bullpen, 6-foot 8-inch right-hander Jeff Nelson. He'll be asked to work the 8th and then turn it over to Mariano Rivera.
It's interesting Joe Torre is going to Jeff Nelson instead of Ramiro Mendoza, who has been throwing the ball very, very well. But they use Nelson sometimes to set up man and Mendoza at other times. There's Mendoza.
Joe Torre, who succeeded Bobby Cox as manager of the Braves in the early 80s at the conclusion of Cox's first tour of duty as Atlanta's manager. Craig Sager reports from downstairs that John Rocker came into the dugout fuming. Andrew Jones bluffing a bunt and taking a strike, very upset with the ball and strike calls of plate umpire Randy Marsh. One and one. Nelson, as Rocker sits alongside his ever-rocking pitching coach, Leo Mazzoni. Nelson on the mound for the Yankees gives you that big, distracting motion, and then throws that nasty slider with that frisbee-like motion side to side. That one's high, 2-2. Jones has walked and line to third. Eddie Perez is on deck. Down goes Andrew Jones. The last save Mariano Rivera blew was on July 16th against the Braves at Yankee Stadium. The fourth of 4 blown saves for him this year. Since then, he's allowed exactly 1 run, regular season and postseason combined.
I saw him being interviewed last night, and they asked him about that. He says, I've already forgotten about that. He said, he'll have to beat me again if the opportunity arises. He said that will definitely not be on his mind.
Well, Joe Torre told us that a big part of the maturation process for Mariano Rivera, a painful part, was allowing the 4th game home run in the playoffs a couple of years ago to Sandy Alomar Jr. of the Indians. He said he was able to put that behind him, and right there Torre knew that Rivera was going to be his bullpen ace for a long, long time.
To be a closer, you have to have the mentality of, I remember something Raleigh Finger said. He said, sometimes you tame the tiger, other times the tiger has you for lunch. But you have to go back out there.
Called strike. 2 balls and 1 strike to Eddie Perez. Way outside, 3-1. Walt Weiss is the next scheduled hitter. Ozzie Guillen is in the on-deck circle to pinch hit for him. Ball 4 to Eddie Perez. Tomorrow night at 7:30, we'll be back here with Game 2. Pre-game show includes the on-field ceremony for the living members of the All-Century team. And then it'll be Kevin Millwood for Atlanta against David Cone for the Yankees. Ozzie Guillen, who had a huge pinch hit in the 10th inning of the Game 6 National League Championship Series win against the Mets. They were trailing by a run. Guillen's hit helped them to tie the game, push it to the 11th, and eventually they won it in the bottom of the 11th. Joe Torre now heads for the mound. He's got Mike Stanton out there, whose specialty is to work to left-handers. And here comes Stanton. He wants to hold Rivera back for the night if he can possibly get it to happen that way. Nelson faced only 2 hitters.
I'm not going to let my retirement growth potential get lost in the excitement of a new job.
Like the rest of our generation, my daughter Anne.
All may not be retransmitted in any form. The accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without express written consent.
So here's Mike Stanton, whose various trips through the major leagues have been very well timed, if nothing else. He's been in the postseason every year since 1991. He was with the Braves from '89 through '95. Went to the Red Sox. They made the playoffs in '95. To the Rangers in '96 in the postseason, and with the Yankees in '97, '98, and this year.
Bob, in the past, he's been a power pitcher through a pretty good fastball, hard breaking ball. Now he's gone to a lot of changeups, throws a lot of changeups to right-handed hitters.
Guillen was announced. Stanton came in. Guillen pulled back. Jose Hernandez to the plate. Howard Battle, another right-handed hitter, is on deck. Hernandez has some pop. He had 19 homers this year. A called strike. Cuts and misses. 0-2.
There's a good changeup. He's starting with a breaking ball and then comes with a changeup.
Jose Hernandez strikes out a lot, 145 times this year. That one's in the dirt. 1-2. Chipper Jones' homer made it 1-0 into the 8th. Brian Hunter, seated next to him, made 2 errors in that 4-run Yankee half of the inning. 1-2 pitch. Fouled off. Called strike 3. Randy Marsh sends Jose Hernandez packing, and here's a bit more invective from Bobby Cox.
Well, he throws him a curveball that starts off the plate outside. And according to Randy Marsh, it breaks over the outside corner. Not a bad looking pitch, especially with 2 strikes.
Torrey back to the mound. Pat Stanton on the back for a job well done, and now he wants Rivera.
Okay, with AT&T's new one-rate 7...
Rollin', rollin', keep those prices rollin'. Rollin', 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 roll back. Rollin' back, move 'em out, move 'em out, roll 'em back, move 'em out, roll back.
New rolling back prices all over the store. Just look for Smiley to save even more. Walmart.
Move 'em out, roll back.
Always low prices.
Yeah.
Always.
Give me an army that will save France from her enemies.
At 16, she convinced a king.
With half of France in the hands of the English, what have I got to lose? The other half.
And inspired an army.
Does she even know how to ride a horse?
She knows.
500 years later, her passion is still changing history.
Let all those who love me follow me!
The Messenger, the story of Joan of Arc. Rated R. Opens everywhere November 12th.
NBC's coverage of the 1999 World Series is brought to you by Merrill Lynch. There's a new way to work with Merrill Lynch, any way you want. By MasterCard. MasterCard, proud sponsor of Major League Baseball and fan of the great American pastime. And by Brewery Fresh Budweiser, official beer of Major League Baseball. This Bud's for you.
We were talking about the big home run allowed in the division series in 1997 by Rivera, an opposite field shot to Sandy Alomar Jr. at Jacobs Field. That is the last time he's been touched for a run in the playoffs or the World Series. He's worked 7 2/3 postseason innings in 1999. In the ALCS, he had 2 saves and a win.
Number 7, Keith Lockhart.
Last save he blew was against the Atlanta Braves in mid-July. Howard Battle had been announced. He's pulled back. Left-handed hitting Keith Lockhart, their best pinch hitter, is sent up. That's strike one.
What you'll see from Rivera is a riding fastball up in the zone and a cut fastball, which he threw there. And every once in a while he'll turn one over, but he throws a cut fastball and a riding fastball. And that obviously is the riding fastball up, and Lockhart a little late on it. He has such a slow and easy motion that the ball just explodes on you, and you do not have a lot of time to decide whether it's in the strike zone or not.
A ball and 2 strikes. Martinez playing behind Perez at first. And the 1-2 pitch is popped back and out of play. Mariano Rivera is such a cool customer that he's been known to nap in the early innings of a game out in the bullpen. And, you know, wake me up when you need me. Lockhart stays alive. Slender Panamanian right-hander, 6'4" and barely 170 pounds. Another 1-2 pitch. Lockhart slaps it down to Martinez, who'll take it himself. Down go the Braves in the 8th. 4-1 Yankees.
Yeah, let me get this straight.
Yes.
Are you actually saying I don't have to pay you?
Jose Hernandez stays in the game at short. Out of the bullpen comes left-hander Mike Remlinger, who was 10-1 for the regular season, and there are his postseason stats.
And one of the things the Braves thought they had an advantage over the Yankees was that their bullpen was predominantly left-handed, and they felt like that could really hurt the Yankees late in the ball game. But Remlinger did not come in to pitch to Darryl Strawberry, so in the crucial 8th inning. So I don't know exactly how that works in the Braves' favor if you're not using them against the left-handed hitters of the Yankees.
Leading off in the top of the 9th, it's Chad Curtis. In the 4-run 8th, Strawberry batted for El Duque, drew a walk. Curtis ran for him, stayed in the game. And he's in left field now. Swings on the first pitch, skies it to shallow right. Brian Jordan is there. Back to the top of the order for Chuck Knobloch. Except for a tag play on an attempted steal, Knobloch somehow has avoided the ball, or the ball has avoided him in this game. All the talk about his problems at second base, unless I'm missing something on my scorecard, he hasn't had a chance except taking that throw from Posada when they threw Chipper Jones out trying to steal.
And that's true. I can't remember another play either, but tell you what, if you play 5 or 6 ball games, you can't hide middle infielders.
The ball will find you.
The ball will find you.
Knobloch finds his counterpart at second, Brett Boone, who throws him out from the outfield grass. Satori has less to worry about, with at least a 3-run lead going to the bottom of the 9th, and Luis Sojo unavailable. Sojo in Venezuela for his father's funeral, and the Yankees playing a man short the first 2 games of this series. Joe says he will not replace Knobloch for defense unless Sojo is here. He's not going to go to a rookie like Clay Bellinger, who doesn't have much big league experience. 2 quick outs in the top of the 9th. Here's Jeter.
Last year we talked about the Yankees and how good they were without having an MVP on their ball club. Well, I think this year this guy here has become an MVP, and Bernie Williams, both of these guys have stepped up and become the stars of this Yankee team. And Derek Jeter has just been almost perfect from opening day until the end of the World Series. I mean, he has been the guy for the Yankees.
Two and one to Derek.
And he always seems to be up there in crucial situations. I mean, he was up against Greg Maddux in the 8th inning and came through with a base hit. And they've been able to avoid Bernie Williams in those situations tonight.
2 balls and 2 strikes. Derek's RBI single in the 8th tied the game at 1. Maddux stands to be the loser. Hernandez the winner. El Duque threw 7 innings of 1-hit ball. The only hit, a Chipper Jones homer in the 4th. Full count. And he loses him. Very quiet Atlanta dugout, faced with the prospect of trying to make up 3 runs against a guy who's yielded 1 run since mid-July. The Braves really were the last team to victimize Rivera. Andrew Jones had a home run against him. Last save he's blown, last homer he's allowed this year. They've got him picked off. Jeter sprints for second, and he's gone. Officially a caught stealing. That puts an end to the top of the 9th.
I could see you. Oh no, oh no. I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it. I got it.
Freaks and Geeks.
I said I got it.
Time magazine calls it sweet and funny. The best new show.
Show off.
NBC Saturdays after baseball.
I said I got it.
4 Yankee pitchers have combined to 1-hit the Braves through 8. Hernandez did the bulk of the work. 7 1-hit innings with 10 strikeouts. Then they started the 8th with Nelson, Stanton for 1 hitter, Rivera to cap the inning. And now they'll ask Mariano to close it in the 9th. Gerald Williams 0 for 3 with 2 strikeouts against El Duque. Takes strike 1 from Rivera. Hit to second, a chance for Knobloch. He plays it cleanly, upward-looking throw, but it gets the job done. Here's Knobloch, Gold Glover in '97, 26 errors to lead American League second baseman in that dubious category this year.
And he's had problems on these types of throws where he has time, but you see there he kind of picks up the target very quickly. He doesn't get a lot on the throw, but he retires the runner.
He threw that like he was playing catch with a small child. (0-2) to Brett Boone.
Well, we take a look at him. See, he picks up the target very quickly there, but you can see he's opened his hand just to throw it. It was more like a changeup.
Hit toward the hole, a base hit.
High fastball. Boone, pretty good high fastball hitter. But Rivera's high fastball is a little different than most. He hammers it and hits it in the hole to right field. If you're the Braves, all you're trying to do now is bring the tying run to the plate. You need to try to get a situation where one swing of the bat you can tie the ball game.
They're 1 base runner away from that. Ball 1 to Chipper Jones. Struck out, homered, and walked.
And with Rivera, you're going to have to earn it because he doesn't help you out. He comes after you. He makes you earn everything you get against him.
2-0. No strikes.
I think Mel Stottlemyre's wondering where that pitch was.
Jones taking all the way, and on 4 pitches, he walks to bring the tying run to the plate.
And you see Posada talking to the home plate umpire. I think they were both shocked that the 2-0 pitch was called a ball.
So here's Jordan, who was twice flied to right and then popped to short. When they weren't sure if they could sign Bernie Williams, the Yankees had some interest in Jordan during the offseason. Eventually, Bernie stayed in New York. Jordan went from St. Louis to Atlanta. Apart from the Chipper Jones home run, Brett Boone, now at second base, is the first Brave to get that far tonight. Strike one to Jordan, who hit 23 home runs during the regular season. He had a couple more in the LCS against the Mets. And Rivera quickly gets ahead of him 0-2.
And the 2 good cut fastballs right on the outer half of the plate.
Greg Myers, reserve catcher, is on deck to pinch hit. On 3 pitches, Jordan sits down. So he walked Chipper Jones on 4. He fans Jordan on 3.
This is the first pitch, cut fastball, strike on the outside, cut fastball again, he fouls off. This one a little more off the plate, and he goes down swinging.
A disgusted Jordan is the second out of the 9th. This was Klesko's spot in the lineup. Hunter replaced him for defense. Myers now bats for Hunter. And hits a little pop that Brocious chases down in foul ground. And game 1 goes to New York. The Chevy player of the game is Orlando Hernandez. El Duque threw 7 brilliant innings, marred only by the Chipper Jones homer. He struck out 10. He gets the win. Mariano Rivera notches the save. Orlando Hernandez is now 5-0 in the playoffs and World Series. And the Hernandez family, if you count what Levon did in '97 for the Marlins, a perfect 9-0. Out of the Merrill Lynch play of the game as part of the 4-run Yankee 8th. They had the bases loaded. The infield was drawn in. Paul O'Neill, who hit only 190 this year against left-handed pitching, managed to slip it past the diving Brett Boone off the lefty John Rocker. That produced 2 runs, made it 3-1, and the Yankees win it 4-1.
And because of the pressure of the Yankees that put on them, they had to play the infield in.
Let's go to Jim Gray.
All right, thank you very much, Bob. Paul, you get that awful big 2 RBI hit in the 8th inning. How did you guys finally resolve Greg Maddux there and get him out of the game? He had pitched 7 innings of shutout.
Well, I mean, we got a break there on the bunt, obviously. It really set things off for us. But, you know, Straw goes in off the bench and gets a big walk, and, you know, you get some runners. And I think, you know, the days off hurts both teams as far as hitting. It's tough to come after not playing for 4 or 5 days and go out and have good at-bats. But Maddux, as usual, was great, and we're just going to get to him.
What can you say about El Duque? He has a one-hitter. Turns out the one hit is the 4th inning home run to Chipper Jones, but he turned in a fabulous performance for you guys.
It's so much fun to play behind him. I mean, he's got so much confidence now. He throws from different angles. and he puts everything he's got, his heart and soul out there, and he believes that he's going to win. And he's pitched some great games for us.
Paul, congratulations on game one.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow. All right, Bob, back upstairs to you. Jim, thanks a lot. The Yankees have now won 9 straight World Series games. They're 8-1 against playoff and World Series competition this year. Again, the final score, the Yanks 4, the Braves 1. We're back tomorrow night for Game 2 of the World Series, Millwood versus Cone. And the special pregame show begins at 7:30 Eastern and will include the live introduction and ceremony of the MasterCard All-Century team. That's tomorrow at 7:30 Eastern here on NBC. Tonight, following your late local news, an all-new Saturday Night Live featuring Norm Macdonald and the music of Dr. Dre featuring Snoop Doggy Dogg and Eminem. I'm guessing that's not Mantle and Maris. And for those of you who'd like to continue with our World Series coverage, tune to CNBC right now for the post-game report. For Joe Morgan, Jim Gray, and Craig Sager, I'm Bob Costas. This is NBC, home, as you know by now, of the 1999 World Series.
News was actually outlasted. The single is center field off of the losing pitcher, Greg Maddux. Of course, tomorrow it is Game 2, and with Tommy Glavine being pushed back in the rotation now because of the flu, there'll be a couple of right-handers going at Turner Field. David Cone for the Yankees, Kevin Millwood for the Braves in an 8:05 start tomorrow night as the Yankees look to go up 2-0 with, of course, Games 3, 4, and 5 at the stadium, and if necessary, on October 30th and Halloween, Games 6 and 7 in Atlanta. Well, I've told you before, I don't think this series is going back to Atlanta. The Yankees making it all come to life. It's good to know New York has more than one clutch baseball team. John Rocker, no success here in the 8th inning. It was a big 8th inning for the Yankees where they scored 4 runs. But Rocker, he felt he got squeezed on a couple of calls in the 8th inning by the home plate umpire, which ultimately resulted in a big RBI single for Paul O'Neill, a 2-run single, and then it was an intentional walk to Bernie Williams to load the bases up. Yankees would try, rather the Braves would try again, but Tino Martinez would strike out. Jorge Posada struck out looking. Then Jim Leyritz coming up in a pinch hitting role draws a bases loaded walk against John Rocker. He was in for Ricky Leday, and that was the 4th Yankee run. But of course, the big rally in the 8th inning started by the very patient, very solid hitting of Scott Brocious. Darryl Strawberry, he followed Brocious' single with a pinch walk. He was in there for Orlando Hernandez. Can't say enough about El Duque tonight. He was tremendous. 7 innings pitched. Only allowed 1 hit. That was a solo home run to Chipper Jones, and that was way back in the 4th inning. That was the first hit and the only hit he would allow in this game. Braves would get another hit in the 9th inning, but again, El Duque with 10 strikeouts. His postseason record now 5-0, and I'm sure a lot of Yankee fans were a little worried about El Duque going into this ballgame because you can remember in interleague play, remember back during July, El Duque was torched by the Atlanta Braves. Braves beat him 7-2. That was in 1988. And then they had 4 home runs against him this year in a 10-7 loss at Yankee Stadium. But tonight it was El Duque, El Supreme for the Bronx Bombers. Solid pitching effort, striking out 10 batters en route to gaining the victory. Yankees with a 4-1 win in Game 1 of the World Series. As we said, still to come in this show, we'll get the interview room, the podium shots, and we'll also talk from our broadcast team, Michael Kay and Al Troutwig down in Atlanta. It's all coming up right here on this very special Jeep post-game report on MSG.
Duque would make all night long, and it was a costly one. Just above the foul pole, home run. Atlanta's first hit of the game, the only hit El Duque gave up. Braves lead at 1-0. Top 7, still 1-0 Braves. Bernie Williams on second with a walk and a stolen base, and after a strikeout and pop out, Maddux cased Ricky Leday swinging to end it. 1-0 Braves through 7. Don Zimmer hoping for some good luck. Top of the 8th, still 1-0. Runners on first and second for Chuck Knobloch. A perfect bunt. It gets by Maddux. Then Brian Hunter loses the ball.
Hunter came in as a defensive replacement for Klesko, gets the error, so bases loaded, nobody out. And the next batter, Derek Jeter. That was Derek Jeter's bat. Don Zimmer was holding for good luck. Smokes it through the left side. Scott Brosius scored. Game tied at 1 now, bases loaded. So Bobby Cox comes out, Maddox goes out, in comes John Rocker, and Paul O'Neill greets the lefty with a base hit through the right side. Chad Curtis scores. Knobloch is in. It's 3-1 Yankees. Cox can't believe it. Jeter is safe at third as he hustles back. And the Yankees, as they continue to do, win World Series games. The final now 4-1. New York has ripped off 9 straight World Series games dating back to 1996. El Duque, 7 innings, 1 hit, 1 run, 10 Ks. His career postseason ERA actually rises to 1.02, but he improves to 5-0 in 6 career postseason starts. We're just throwing this one out. In the previous 11 World Series, the Game 1 winner has gone on to win the World Series 9 times. The only 2 times the Game 1 winner didn't win the World Series was when the Atlanta Braves won Game 1 back in 1992 and 1996. For the very latest, we send it back to Atlanta. Carl Ravitch and the Baseball Tonight crew standing by.
Well, they are filing out of Turner Field, disappointed clearly in the work of the Atlanta Braves late in this game as the New York Yankees, who are among the best in come-from-behind victories this season. In fact, 3rd in the major leagues. The Braves were the best when it comes to come-from-behind wins. A little of their own medicine on Saturday night as the New York Yankees now have a 1-love lead. Peter Gambitz and Harold Reynolds are here. It was a pitcher's duel classic until the 8th inning. Let's talk about some of the strategy in the 8th inning, Peter.
Well, I think what we've seen is how well Joe Torre is managing 8th innings all during the postseason. In the Boston series, Game 2 and Game 5, he was absolutely brilliant. He used 5 pitchers in both of those 8th innings, and that won in the series. And in Game 1 of this World Series, he had Darryl Strawberry sitting on the bench. Maddox had a 3-hitter in the 8th. He had Darryl Strawberry on the bench. You figure Darryl Strawberry's not going to get into this series in Atlanta because of the 3 left-handers, but Harold, he had the gun and he went right out with it.
Well, he really did, and I think it's a trend that we will see throughout the playoffs. What he did is he saved John Rocker. You know he's down in the pen. He saved Chili Davis by not sending him up there in that situation, and he saved Jim Leyritz for later, who ended up seeing Rocker in that situation. I think he will continue to force the issue and make Bobby Cox have to make the moves with his starters and get to the bullpen. Even as good as Atlanta's bullpen is, Carl, all season long, we know if you get to a team's bullpen, that's where you win games, and that's what Joe Torre tried to do tonight.
So he sort of forced Bobby Cox's hand a little bit. He had Strawberry in the on-deck circuit. He leaves Greg Maddox in. Instead of bringing in the 3 lefties, which we've talked about all week in his bullpen, he ultimately gets walked. Then Chuck Knobloch comes up, and that bunt, which ultimately got past Maddox, really opened the door.
Well, it really did, and it wasn't even a perfect bunt. He's actually trying to bunt this ball to either first or third base, and sometimes when you make the mistake, you get the advantage. Let's take a look at this play. Here's what happens. Maddox is going to throw a fastball to Knobloch. He's bunting all the way. He's trying to bunt this ball to first base. It goes in between into no man's land. Forget the missed play by Hunter, but look at Maddox. He turns to break towards third. It's a regular bunt play. He's covering his position where he's supposed to go. Knobloch just got lucky, put the ball in a bad place, and I tell you, the Yankees continue to take advantage of mistakes. Even when they make mistakes, it seems to turn out to the best of their advantage.
We talked about how the Mets, they were able to get by the mistakes they made, Atlanta, in that series. Here, they made 2 errors. It didn't kill them, but it certainly didn't help them. And then you talk about Greg Maddox, pitching for Tom Glavine, who was sick. Maddox looked every bit like the Cy Young Award winner he was until.
Well, absolutely, Bill. I think one of the things people don't understand about Greg Maddox is a great fastball pitcher. He happens to have a different type of fastball than a Nolan Ryan or a Roger Clemens or someone like that. But that's what we saw all night tonight. I thought he really used it in great situations. I mean, right early in the game, he had struck out Bernie Williams to end the first on a strike. Now, he's got a runner on first, nobody out. Here's that great, hard-sinking fastball. Posada tries to pull it, double play. Can't get it now. 6th inning with Derek Jeter. He comes in to set up the fastball away, but after the bunt, he goes right back there, and that's why Derek Jeter is one of the great players in the game. He got the same pitch that he took for a strike in the 6th inning. Bases loaded, nobody out. He pulls it into left field, ties the game, and that's where it all unraveled.
All right, and he, of course, hit .361 in the regular season with men in scoring position. Derek Jeter amongst the best in baseball, especially with 2 strikes. Okay, it's time for some post-game reaction now. Paul O'Neill came in with the sore rib, got the time off between the LCS and the World Series. Everything appeared fine. He comes through with a clutch hit in this one. He's with Charlie Steiner.
drove in what turned out to be the game-winning run?
Well, the key is he got behind, obviously, and with bases loaded, he's got to throw strikes. And you know, it was a break for us. Obviously, I chopped the ball. That ball is at him. It's a double play, and it's found a hole. I mean, obviously, you know, you're not going to make your living getting big hits off Rocker as a left-hander, but you know, you got to battle and see what happens.
You take back home field advantage after game one. You beat Maddox and Rocker in their own place. How important is that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think you saw a lot of guys that were rusty out there as far as hitting. I mean, the pitching was great. There's no doubt about it. But you know, you're off 4 or 5 days, and you come out and try to get the jitters out. And Maddox, I mean, he's a great pitcher. And tonight, it was his changeup, and some nights it's his cutter, and that's the thing. He gets you guessing, and that's when you get in trouble.
So cold and windy as it was tonight, how did it impact on hitters and facing a guy like Maddox?
Well, with this, you know, few opportunities to score, and both teams had, it really didn't affect anybody. I mean, obviously, you'd want to come out here when it's 80 degrees, but right now in October, it's not going to be that way. And you know, the game was won by some singles and a couple walks, so the weather really didn't have that much to do with it.
Paul, congratulations. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Let's go back upstairs.
Charlie, thank you, O'Neill. One of the Yankees 6 in this game, and of course, this is their 5th World Series appearance. They have now lost Game 1 twice. They lost Game 1 in '91. They have now lost it in 1989. Manager Bobby Cox has been there for all of them. He's now speaking.
You get a base hit, that's 2-0. Makes a big, huge difference.
One step further, Bob, we know about replay not during the regular season, but with these games being so important in postseason, would you be an advocate of replay in the postseason?
Not really. Yeah, I don't know what the other managers think about it, but you know, it's the umpires. It's part of baseball. Missing calls, getting them right, and making errors and hitting home runs. That's all part of the game. Bad hops, and you know, it's all part of the game.
Okay, any other questions? Go ahead, sir. He's right there.
Bob, talk about, you might have already said, but Maddox's performance up until the 8th inning, maybe his best.
He pitched great in the 8th inning. I mean, Brocious got 3 ground balls through our infield tonight, and then we messed up the bunt, you know, and you know, we thought we had Strawberry, and we ended up giving up some runs that inning. He gave up 1 ball hit good, and that was it. I thought he was as good tonight as he's ever been, and he had plenty of room to go 9 innings tonight.
Okay, so the words of Bobby Cox, and certainly in the background you can hear the cheers of the New York Yankee fans. They have infiltrated Atlanta, and they have certainly made an impact, just like the Yankees did on the Braves here Saturday night. 18-5 in the postseason. The Yankees had outscored their opponents now 22-5 after inning number 7. It seems to be a very familiar recipe. Certainly one of the offensive keys to that. On Saturday night was Derek Jeter. He's with Mark Schwartz.
Yankee fans calling roll call for Derek Jeter only here in Atlanta. He finally tipped their cap to him. Greg Maddux seemed to have you guys stymied for 7 innings. No Yankee past second base. And the 8th, little ball broke it open.
Well, I mean, we're always very positive on the bench. We always think if we get some runners on, we'll be able to scrap for some runs. And he did a great job, but so did El Duque. He made 1 mistake, and Chipper capitalized on it, and we were able to scrap for some runs in the 8th.
It seemed like a game that could end up 1-0, but Strawberry's walk was critical. A power hitter drawing walk with patience?
Well, it was huge. Scott Brocious did it again. He got another hit and got on base, and Darryl came up in a tough situation. He was able to draw the walk, and we got rolling from there.
You had the bases loaded at bat with the 1-0 game. Tell me what your approach was trying to break it open.
Well, in that situation, you try to hit a fly ball and get the run in. I swung on a couple pitches that were up a little bit. And then with 2 strikes, you're just protecting. There's a ball out over the plate. I don't even know if it was a strike. I haven't seen it yet, but I just tried to put the bat on it and found a hole.
Paul O'Neill had a rough year against lefties, 190, worst of all American League regulars. He went up against their best left-hander and came through. How big was that?
It was huge. I mean, O'Neill's a gamer. He comes out here, it seems like when he's not going to get a hit, that's when he gets his big hits. And he's facing a tough guy in John Rocker. I don't know if he's seen him before or faced him before, but he worked the count 3-1 and got a huge hit.
Yankees bat around in the 8th and win it 4-1. Derek Jeter knocks in the tying run. Back to you.
Mark, thank you very much. Game 2, Hank Aaron will throw out the first pitch. Braves are need a little magic. They're down 1-0. Back to the studio.
Much more from our guys a bit later in the show. Our
Pure silver cards, 84-karat gold by Balfour, the trusted name in sports collectibles. All in
that story coming
up the bunt, you know, and you know, we thought we had Strawberry, and we ended up giving up some runs that inning. He gave up 1 ball hit good, and that was it. I thought he was as good tonight as he's ever been, and he had plenty of room to go 9 innings tonight.
Bobby, since you mentioned the bunt, is it your impression that Brian came out too far? Should he have left that play to the pitcher?
I don't know. Brian is an excellent first baseman. That's probably why it got, because he's real quick, and that's probably why it got fouled up a little bit. We don't generally miss on that, you know. The bunt was just kind of right in between. Then he threw it out of his hand. Still would have got one out.
And now Bobby Cox and the Braves look ahead to tomorrow in the pitching matchup with Tom Glavine ailing. It looks like this. David Cone will go for the Yankees. He's 1-0 with a 2.57 ERA in the postseason against Kevin Millwood of the Braves, 2-0 with a 2.38 ERA and a save in the postseason. And that's the way the pitching matchup looks for Game 2 tomorrow night. The Yankees have taken a 1-0 lead in this World Series. The Braves only managing 2 hits tonight and 1 run, that coming from a solo shot by Chipper Jones off Orlando Hurts.
Buck or two.
Bunch.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Bob, consistency in umpiring is what people strive for. When an umpire, when you get inconsistent toward the end, is there anything you can do, anything people can do about that?
You get beat most of the time. That's what happens. You know, I've made up my mind. I'm not going to talk about the umpires in this series, but, you know, close pitches will determine the game, one way or the other.
Okay.
Yeah, we felt Chipper was safe at second, too. I mean, I don't know if he was or not, but he looked safe. You know, that's 1-0 at the time. We get a base hit, that's 2-0. It makes a big, huge difference.
One step further, Bob, we know about replay not during the regular season, but with these games being so important.
Center is brought to you by
your life, your goals,
humanity.
Yeah, I don't know what the other managers think about it, but you know, it's the umpires. It's part of baseball. Missing calls, getting them right, and making errors and hitting home runs. That's all part of the game. Bad hops, and you know, it's all part of the game.
The umpire in question tonight that everybody's talking about in home plate would be Randy Marsh. He is a National League umpire, and as you probably saw throughout the game, both teams, they were grumbling and groaning about some calls, some pitches that maybe they thought they should have got that they didn't get. Standing by down in Atlanta, a couple of my broadcast colleagues. One played in a World Series, as a matter of fact, played in 2, even managed to win one. Ken Singleton standing by with Al Troutwig.
All right, Bill, one Mount Vernon guy to another here. Now, I thought we got rid of these guys. I can't concentrate when they're doing this. All right, that was on tape. We're here live. Security has cleared the building so I can think a little bit more clearly. Kenny, I started things off with Bill saying this was the way the Yankees win in 1999. They own the late innings, and they get great starting pitching from El Duque.
Yeah, great starting pitching from El Duque. He was outstanding. Greg Maddux was pretty good as well. He had the Yankees shut out until the 8th inning. Just enough of a crack in the door that the Yankees stepped through for 4 runs. The Braves really couldn't get it done in that inning. One key I thought would be in this series, and it kind of played out tonight, I felt that the Yankees' orders spread out more offense throughout the order, and I thought Scott Brocious would be a key player in these ball games, particularly down in the order like he was last year. Batting 8th in front of the pitcher. The pitcher's usually going to be an out, whether it's the National League or American League pitcher hitting. He's usually going to be an out. But I think the Yankee order turns over, and you can get things started right again with Knobloch and Jeter. And when you looked at that inning, it was Scott Brocious led it off with a single, and then the walk to Darryl Strawberry as a pinch hitter, pinch hitting for El Duque. Then things were set up for Knobloch, and another key play. Brian Hunter comes on for defense, makes 2 errors in the inning, and really sets up the Yankees big time.
Talk to me about the psyche of this team. In that one inning, the Yankees get rid of Greg Maddux, the mystique of John Rocker, and a defensive replacement makes 2 errors. It's unbelievable.
And plus the fact the Braves only had 2 hits in the game. So what does that tell you about the Atlanta Braves? They must be, you know, thrown back on their heels a little bit after this. Maddux pitching well. I mean, it wasn't really his fault. He gives up the single to Brocious, who hit him well all night long. But then the walk to Strawberry, I think, kind of opened the door because Knobloch could get up there and do his thing as a pretty good bunter, and then the Braves just didn't field it.
Now, Kenny, talk to me about the big story that we got when we arrived at the ballpark tonight. That was that Tom Glavine had the flu and wouldn't pitch today or tomorrow tomorrow. In fact, that Bobby Cox says that he wants to use Tom Glavine at Yankee Stadium because maybe it keeps Darryl Strawberry out of one extra game. But you wonder what this does now to the Atlanta Braves, the illness of Glavine and the unknown of knowing whether he'll be strong enough. I understand he was really sick.
Really sick, dehydrated, so you don't know when his term comes up at Yankee Stadium whether he'll be ready or not and how that will throw the Braves off. I would imagine that John Smoltz would just move up another slot and pitch the third game at Yankee Stadium. Well, Kevin Millwood, who's been a tough pitcher all year long for the Atlanta Braves, was pretty good in the postseason as well, will get to start in Game 2 as opposed to Game 3.
Kenny, I thought early in the game it looked as though Jorge Posada's struggles at the plate continue, and Ricky Leday also. It didn't seem as though they were with the program, so to speak, as far as the Yankee approach to hitting tonight.
Well, those two guys are very aggressive young hitters, and Greg Maddux eats those type of hitters up alive. I talked to him yesterday. He said one thing he was impressed by with the Yankees is most of the hitters, he didn't say all of them, but most of them have the approach that they're only going to swing at strikes, which means he's going to have to throw the ball nearer to the plate to get people out. And you have an aggressive hitter who chases a lot of pitches out of the zone, and he knows who those guys are. He's going to move the ball around. He'll make you chase pitches, be over aggressive, and that will happen with Jorge Posada and Ricky Leday.
Yeah, the one big at bat that did change this game was a bad matchup going in. John Rocker against Paul O'Neill, lefty on lefty, throwing hard, and there was Paul O'Neill working the count to 3-1 and getting a pitch that he could hit.
Well, that's the Yankee way they work it.
And he didn't try to do a lot with it. He just punched it through the right side.
Base hit, the infield's drawn in, everything's to his advantage if he can hit the ball hard. Got it through the infield, gave the Yankees the lead, and once they got the lead, you had the feeling they weren't going to give it back with the bullpen primed and ready to go. Stanton, first of all Nelson, then Stanton, and of course Mariano Rivera.
How was it talking to the world tonight?
You're big in France, huh? You're big. All I have to do is mention your name in France. I'll get a table at any good restaurant.
Okay. That's Ken Singleton. He'll join us again tomorrow on our post-game coverage here on MSG. Meanwhile, tomorrow he'll be broadcasting the game on Major League Baseball International. Let's talk about El Duque. Not only does he lay down a good sacrifice bunt, but 10 strikeouts in the ball game here tonight, and some tough ones. Brett Boone there and another one, en route to 10 in the ball game. Let's go inside. Michael Kay talks about him with Joe Torre.
Amazing. El Duque was great, and it's kind of not even the story of the game.
It was a tremendous game. I mean, just what you anticipate. Two starting pitchers just dominate the game. I mean, even after the game, El Duque was lamenting mistake, mistake, mistake. I mean, he gave up one hit. It was a home run. It went 700 feet, but unbelievable. I mean, the kind of pitching we came out of that bullpen with also. But El Duque was a story, and so was Maddux. I mean, Maddux, I'm not sure he deserved to lose, but sure as hell El Duque deserved to win.
What did Maddux do in the 8th inning that he hadn't been doing the first 7?
Well, he walked the first man, and then Darryl Strawberry is going to make you be careful. I think that was the whole inning right there. Get the first two guys on, and now we can play small ball like we like to do. Tremendous at bat by Jeter. 2 strikes. Took a pitch away that was called a strike, probably. You can't see from the side, but it looked like the same type of pitch. Looked like Maddux tried to do that, and then gets the base hit in the hole. I mean, that kid has done a lot of things, and no. Paul O'Neill, I mean, against Rocker. Sure, the count was in his favor, but that's the thinking man's type of hitter. He gets up there and looked for a pitch, got it, and he was able to pull it in the hole.
Now, do you think that hit, other than accounting for 2 runs, which were big, kind of helps you even more because it kind of knocks the invincibility away from Rocker?
Well, Rocker's still going to come in with the same amount of confidence. There's no question, but it sure was a big win for us. I mean, and doing it against Maddux and Rocker, it does a lot for our confidence.
Now you go to Rivera to get the 4 outs. You elected to shy away from Stanton against the right-hander. Why?
Well, I was, be honest with you, I was thinking, Mo was going to be ready. He wasn't quite ready for the man before. I wanted Nelly to go through that inning by himself because, if he doesn't walk the man, then you have Gerald coming up and a couple of hitters, so you maybe can skip by that inning. But once it got to that point where we were going to possibly face the tie and run, I just wanted Mo on the mound. 4 outs is ideal for him, especially when he hasn't pitched for a while.
Do you know that Brian Hunter's 2 errors kind of knock your brother out of the record books? He was the last first baseman to make 2 errors in a World Series game.
What do you make, 2 or 3, my brother? 2.
Well, in 1 inning.
Yeah, I remember because I was at that game. It was Game 7 in 1958, and I'm not sure that were his errors. I'm not going to get mad. I mean, Lou Burdett's going to get mad at me, but they were a couple of balls that it was Lou covering first base, and they gave him to Frank. But that's good. I'm glad Frank's name was brought caught up again, and that's nice.
Final thing, do you come into these two games saying we'll take a split, now everything else is gravy?
Well, for some reason, the home field advantage puts a lot of pressure on the home team. I felt it when we started home in these series, because you should win. You're supposed to win. And this is the first time, basically, that since I've been managing here, that we've started on the road. And it was, maybe that's why I had a little more relaxed, because you don't have that pounding on you that you need to win. But we still feel that we have to win, but again, we still have 3 games at home coming up.
Joe, thanks so much. Congratulations.
Thanks, Mike.
And we will hear from Michael Kay in a moment, but right now we are joined by Steve Hurt of the Elias Sports Bureau. As you see our spot just outside the Yankee dugout. Turner Field is now all but empty. And Steve, you're the one who looks up to find out when was the last time someone made 2 errors in an inning, right?
How about that? Frank Torrey, all the connections between these two teams in this series. Each manager used to play or manage for the other team. And here's Frank Torrey, the last first baseman to make 2 World Series errors in 1 inning.
What was your take on the game overall?
Well, that was the key play, the bunt play, where Hunter came in and he'd made only 4 errors all year, and he makes 2 in that inning. If Knobloch just gets a sacrifice there and they have second and third, 1 out, it's a decision of what to do with Jeter. Do they walk Jeter to get to O'Neill? Maybe they bring in Rocker to face O'Neill, play the infield back. The ball that O'Neill hit probably would have been double play ball if the infield was back.
And it's amazing, with all eyes on Chuck Knobloch, with all the attention placed on his throwing errors, and I don't mean this as a joke, one of the best things El Duque did was keep the ball away from him. He didn't have a put-out chance until the 9th inning.
He kept it away from about all the fielders, especially the first time through. His 10 strikeouts were the most by a Yankee pitcher in a World Series game since Bob Turley in 1958 had 10. Turley had 11 strikeouts once in a 10-inning World Series game back in '56, but for a 9-inning game, this tied the Yankees record for a World Series.
For a while, when El Duque was piling up the strikeouts, I guess the Bob Gibson 17 strikeouts in 1968.
Right now, he's the best pitcher in baseball.
And Joe Torre seems to have the knack to know when to take one of the best out. He brings in Nelson Stanton Rivera. It has worked every time so far in the postseason. 9 straight World Series wins for the team that calls Yankee Stadium home, not Turner Field. We're back with more.
Turn, and what's this, 9
game out of the 8th inning, and then in the 9th, with 2 on and 1 out, he fans Brian Jordan and gets the pinch hitter Greg Myers to foul out to Scott Brocious. So although the Braves were able to bring the tying run to the plate against Rivera, he is still not allowed a run in this postseason and has allowed 1 run total since he blew a save against the Braves back on July the 16th.
Well, I think El Duque was on top of his game tonight. I mean, he had great stuff to go along with his pitching smarts, and he kept the Braves at bay. But I think the Yankees are a team of experienced players. They know how to win. Even though they were down and it looked like Maddox was in control, they kept coming at him, and then eventually they made a mistake. And once you make a mistake in the late innings against this Yankee ball club, they're able to close the deal.
So now it falls to Kevin Millwood, just a youngster, but really over the course of the whole season, the best pitcher on the Braves staff this year. 18-7 for the season, going against the veteran David Cone, 12-9 in Game 2. And we go back to Hannah Storm. Hannah.
Thanks, Bob and Joe. And in just a few minutes, Red shortstop Barry Larkin will give us his assessment of tomorrow's pitching matchup between
Series hitter. Is there anything? Do you approach the games any differently?
No. I mean, like I said, I've only played 5 World Series games. It's fun this time of year. This is what you want to play for, and the games where the intensity is at its highest, and you're certainly playing for a great reason out there, and it's just fun to go out there and play.
Is it almost a little more relaxing sometimes, they say, once you're in the series than it is maybe in the games building up to the series? I don't know.
I don't know. Difference. I mean, it's, again, you can try to analyze stuff to death. I mean, you go out there and you play, and you hope that when you take your at bats, you get hits, and you just try to, just go out there and play hard and hope for the best.
So it's the 10 strikeouts of El Duque. It is the majesty of Mariano Rivera, and it is the clutch hitting of Paul O'Neill, Derek Jeter, and Scott Brocious, coupled in with the walks of Jimmy Leyritz and Darryl Strawberry, and that's your recipe for a Yankee win tonight. We'll hear from Michael Kay in a moment, but right now we go back to Bill Daughtry in New York at Madison Square Garden. And here's Derek Jeter coming across with a bonus run for the Yankees. He's got the fist pump. The Yankees have a 1-0 lead. Bill, take it away.
Thanks, Al. I tell you what, a big spot there. Also, Chad Curtis, before Jeter got his base hit. Chad was on third, a wild pitch. It caromed right off the backstop, came right back to Eddie Perez. Bases loaded, no out. Curtis says, no, I'll be patient. I'll wait. His patience was rewarded as he was soon plated as the Yankees would get that 4-1 victory. Scott Brosius, a huge part of tonight's win. A very quiet 3 for 4, but as we said at the top of the show, his single started that big Yankee rally in the 8th inning tonight. Scott Brosius, well, what a prime-time performer. He's turned into one of those guys that, hey, October comes, he becomes Mr. October, the reigning World Series MVP. He's got a leg up on getting off to another good start. But he'll get a lot of competition from this guy, Orlando Hernandez. El Duque with an outstanding effort. Best strikeout pitching.
His next out.
Gazi done.
Radio feature.
He's owned the major leagues. Ownership they're trying to reassert.
On himself, Millwood is the young stud in the National League. I think he was the best pitcher in the league and the best pitcher on this staff this year, so it's going to be a good ball game.
You want to talk about a role the Yankees won?
Obsolete.
Eat and part of a great sport.
4-1 win over the Atlanta Braves, so the Yankees just 3 wins away from their 3rd World Series victory in 4 years. Hannah Storm back to wrap things up along with Barry Larkin. Let's look ahead to Game 2 and talk first about Braves starter Kevin Millwood. The Yankee hitters will see an entirely different style than they did tonight from Maddox.
Yes, they will. They see a power pitcher with a big curveball, and that's not what Maddox is. But, you know, Millwood has been their best pitcher all year, and he's a big guy, or a guy who can pitch a big game, and this is a big game for him tomorrow night.
It's 2-0 in the postseason with a save. All right, on the other side, David Combs had plenty of rest.
Well, there's no pressure on Coney, you know. He's just got to get his team out there and give him an opportunity. We can see what that bullpen can do. So if he can go out there and give him some innings, they should be all right as well.
So Yankees did what they wanted to. They came here and they, at the very least, have gotten a split. What sort of pressure does this put on the Braves?
Well, the Braves know that they got to get this win tomorrow, but still there's a possibility that they may not be coming back to Atlanta. So it's important to win this game tomorrow, but, you know, they got to do some work in New York, and that's not a friendly environment at all.
All right, well, since the Yankees lost the first 2 games of the World Series in 1996 against the Braves, they have not lost a game in the World Series. Today, their 9th straight World Series victory. That's all from Atlanta, where the New York Yankees took Game 1 of the 1990.
Leave the man alone and leave me. Each coin is individually. Let it go.
Hurricanes and Penguins, this the end of the 9-game road trip for the Hurricanes to straight
4-carat gold.
World Series pregame show featuring the MasterCard All-Century team. All 18 of the living members of the team will be introduced to the crowd here at Turner Field. It should be an emotional start to Game 2. For Barry Larkin, Jim Gray, Craig Sager, Joe Morgan, and Bob Costas, I'm Hannah Storm saying good night from Atlanta. We'll see you tomorrow night on NBC. Right now, we return you to the National Geographic Explorer on CNBC.
On his 3rd Yankees, that marvelous effort against the Boston Red Sox in Game 2 of the ALCS. And Kevin Millwood gets the ball for the Atlanta Braves. Cone, by the way, held right-handed hitters to a .214 batting average this year, so it's more bad news, maybe, for the Braves hitters tonight, who had a big-time dose of El Duque in the Yankee bullpen. Time now to go back down to Turner Field. It's Al Troutwig standing by with the big guy, Michael Kay.
All right, Bill, there you see the wind blowing the flags here. 30 degrees with the wind chill here in Atlanta. Not something that we expected. The Yankees win this game 4-1 as we continue outside the Yankee dugout. Mike, this was a game that turned late this afternoon with the absence of Tom Glavine. And I think, you know, you look at it and you say, well, it's not hurting the Yankees. It is Greg Maddux, but he is a righty, and so the lefties can hit. But, boy, he was really outstanding. And there was El Duque again, maybe his best postseason performance that we've seen.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, this is going to sound like heresy because this guy's probably the best pitcher of our era. But, you know, if I was a Yankee fan, I'm happy Greg Maddux is starting instead of Glavine. I think Glavine is the guy who matches up great against the Yankees. And in my head, when I picked the Yankees in 5 games, I thought they were going to lose the first game against Glavine. I really did. And then they find a way to beat him in Game 5. But now they only have to deal with him on Game 3. And, you know, if it gets to a Game 7, I'll have to deal with him then. But, you know, now they have 2 games out of the way before they even see Glavine. Maybe by the time they see Glavine, it's up 2-0. And if you look at Greg Maddox's history, remember Joe Girardi's triple against him late in the game. He's not the same pitcher as he is 1st through 7. So I'm a little surprised they had him pitch the 8th, especially if you're going to bring in John Rocker anyway. So maneuver your bullpen in another way and have Maddox leave after the 7 innings.
And one thing that the Braves did that night that Joe Girardi hit that triple, they still continue to do, and we've seen it before. Their outfielders play so shallow that if you do get a hold of one, you're going to make him pay in a big way.
And in a way, they didn't get burned today because nobody was really able to wallop one for the Yankees, but that's something to watch for the remainder of the series. They also did something strange defensively with Rocker at the plate, or Rocker on the mound, throwing 97 miles an hour. They have Chipper Jones hugging the third base line, and it came into play a little bit because Derek Jeter got the big base hit. And, you know, those are things that you have to
right where Chipper would have been.
Right where Chipper might have been. And, you know, if a guy's throwing 97, it's classic baseball. There's a right-handed batter up. He's not pulling the ball. He can't. I mean, the best he's going to do is hit it in the hole like Jeter did. So, you know, those are strange defensive plays for them. And, again, you're right. That outfield play is as shallow as any outfield. Now, you know why Andrew Jones does it, because he's probably the best center fielder in baseball. He and Griffey are neck and neck. But the other guys, I just don't get it. Tomorrow will be interesting to see if the Yankees cash in on that.
Psychological damage, if there is such a thing, with Rocker, Maddox in one inning being victimized the way they were?
Well, I think the psychological damage is humongous. Not that it plays against Rocker, because I think Joe Torre, when I asked him that question, took it that way. I don't think Rocker's going to come in and feel beaten and downtrodden when he comes in. But now the Yankee batters don't think that he's an invincible guy. I mean, he's just amazing. And, you know, in the 2nd inning against the Mets, he gave up some runs, and then he gave up that dribbler up the middle off the glove of Ozzie Guillen to the Mets that won the game 3-2. So 3 straight appearances, he really hasn't done his job. His aura of invincibility is over. O'Neill, who hasn't had a good postseason, playing with a broken right rib, he gets that big hit. That's got to make him feel great, and it's got to make the Yankees say, hey, we can deal with this guy.
All right, now Derek Jeter, there he is, involved once again in a key at-bat that we talked about. I mean, and Joe Torre was complimentary of Derek Jeter's at-bat for the success that he enjoyed. Now Anthony Fusilli is talking to Derek Jeter.
28 at-bats, he'd give up 11 hits, 2 home runs, and 22 runs batted in. Very different from what we saw from 93 to 98. Speaking of unable to get hits, that certainly was the case for the Braves. Walt Weiss is with Dave Campbell.
Yeah, he's been big for us all year. He's been in a number of big games for us, and you know, he's a gamer. He'll go out there and he'll have, I think he'll have a good outing. You know, he'll be ready to go. He's a mentally tough kid, and you know, we like our chances with all our pitchers on the mound. You know, and it's no different with Millwood out there tomorrow.
How tough was El Duque tonight?
He's tough. I mean, he changes arm angles on you with his fastball a lot, and even with his slider. And his slider was real good. He had a real sharp break on his slider tonight, and I think he was relying on that quite a bit.
Does he do a pretty good job of hiding the ball?
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, he's got an unorthodox delivery, but I think the bottom line is, you know, he expands the strike zone with that slider, particularly to the right-handed hitters. It's tough to lay off because it's a late breaker, and right-handed hitters end up chasing it off the plate. I mean, it's easy to say lay off that pitch, and it's tough to do. I mean, it's when it's breaking that sharp and that late.
Thanks for the time.
All right, Soup.
Okay, back to you.
All right, Dave, thank you very much. This is not as if this is the first time they had seen Orlando Hernandez. He pitched against them in July, and actually they got to him. He only went 4 2/3. He gave up 6 earned runs and 8 hits, but certainly game 1, advantage Hernandez. Down on the field we go, more insight and analysis. Mark Schwartz, joined by Rick Sutcliffe, and a welcome to Royce Clayton.
Exactly, Carl. This is the national television debut of Royce Clayton, the shortstop with the Texas Rangers, the 1979 Rookie of the Year. Rick Sutcliffe with us. Royce, this was not an atypical win for the Yankees. 3 singles, 3 walks, a misplayed bunt. The Yankees 8th in the league in home runs, have been doing it with little ball all year.
Yes, but late in the ball games is key for them. They've outscored opponents 22-5 after the 7th inning, and that's the key. They're very resilient. They don't panic. They fell behind 1-0, didn't worry about it, just waited for that break. You have to give them 27 outs. You give them too many outs, they're going to beat you somehow late in the ball game, and that's what they did tonight.
And Joe Torre knew that #1 starter El Duque had to be his starter in this game, but he also knew, Rick, when to pull El Duque.
I'll tell you another thing, Mark. I thought Joe Torre was perfect
particularly there in that 8th inning. He had the opportunity when Brocious got on. He could have sent El Duque back up there to sacrifice. He had done that earlier in the ball game. He was throwing terrific, but he said, no, I'm going to send Strawberry up there. One swing in the bat, we can have the lead. Well, the respect for Strawberry drew the base on balls. Now Torrey says, I'll sacrifice. He does it. They push the bunt to the defensive replacement for the Atlanta Braves. And what happened? Well, he makes an error. Now you set the table for Jeter, for O'Neill, and for Bernie Williams. They've been doing that all year long, and when you do it, these guys are going to clean the table up as they did tonight.
And the one matchup Bobby Cox thought he had won with John Rocker, left-handed hitters batting 140 against him, and Paul O'Neill batting 190 against lefties all year long, went against the Atlanta Braves, with O'Neill coming through with the bases loaded. That's it from down on the field. Back to you.
Mark, thank you very much. They will have the Midsummer Classic here in the year 2000. It's the Fall Classic they're all concerned about. More Sports Center continues with some baseball managerial news.
Games in the postseason in the 1990s, 79 on this present roster, 79 games of manpower, and all of a sudden those don't mean anything because they've lost those games. They've lost the big games. The Yankees, they win the big games. The only game we've seen over the last 4 games or last 4 years that they've lost was that game against the Indians. When Sandy Alomar hit the home run, then they came back and lost the next night. So they've gotten over that. Mariano Rivera's gotten over it, hasn't given up a run since then. I think there's just a different feel of professionalism, and that's not knocking the Braves as being unprofessional. They're human beings. The Yankees almost are robotic in this thing.
All right, let's go back inside the clubhouse. You had this conversation with Chad Curtis. All right, this was given 4 stars as a rating by Mr. K moments ago. Let's listen in.
The 99.
Should I go? Should I not go?
Well, not really. I mean, baseball is a game where you put your time in before that situation comes up, so that when the situation comes up, you just react to it. You know, it's like hitting. If you think about how to hit a 92-mile-an-hour fastball, you'll never hit it. I have to put the time in beforehand to be able to make that reaction.
Now, if there's more than 0 outs, do you go?
No.
Still don't take a chance?
Not right there. I mean, the ball came back. I was out at home if I would have kept going, so no, I wouldn't have went.
Was Willie shouting anything, or is that totally just you?
If I'm waiting to listen to Willie, I'm in trouble. You know, that would be him reacting and then me reacting to him reacting, and it's too late.
What does this mean to you, Chad? Because you didn't get into last year's World Series, and now you score a big run.
It means a lot. You know, last year it was a little bit hard to take. You know, we won, but didn't never step foot on a field, and today it was nice to be able to go out there.
How big is this game for the Yankees? You taking away the home field advantage with the first game?
Well, it's a big game. You know, it gives us the feeling of coming out tomorrow and say, hey, let's just get right back after them. You know, you kind of put yourself in a position where, hey, we got an opportunity to go 2-0 at someone else's yard. Where, you know, if you lose the first game, you're like, we got to scrap and claw to make sure we get one game. And you know, it kind of gives us a loose feeling coming tomorrow, and we'll get after them.
Can you describe the feeling in the dugout? Was it desperation because you couldn't get to Maddox over 7 innings, or was it like, hey, we'll get there?
Well, I think that the feeling was pretty good, and you got to hand that to Duque. You know, he kept us in the game 1-0, and you know, like I said, you got Straw sitting on a bench, you got Chili and Jim. You know, you got some firepower sitting there, and you're like, sooner or later we're going to get an opportunity to, you know, get a big hit, and you know, I think we all felt like it was going to happen.
All right, sometimes the best things you don't do are good things, like Chad Curtis not heading home from third base.
That makes sense.
Yeah, you know. Let's move on to you then, shall we, Jeff? Joe Torre wanted you to pitch the complete inning. Didn't work out that way. Were you a little concerned with his postseason that Eddie Perez was a long ball threat?
No, I was up 3 runs, and I just got away from what I've been successful with going inside with my fastball. I struck out Andrew Jones, and I wanted to strike out Eddie Perez. I go out and try to punch out everyone, and I try to do it on the first pitch. Was a mistake, and I didn't get ahead. But I don't think about anybody trying to hit a home run. I'm up 3 runs. I got to throw strikes, and just didn't work out that I walked him. And the guys behind me did a great job.
When you guys are sitting in the bullpen and you watch Orlando Hernandez do what he did, I mean, you're all professionals out there. Are you even marveling that he could pitch like this in this kind of weather?
Oh, he's amazing. I mean, he's from a warm weather climate. I don't think he's close to used to this cold. But he's been great last year and great this year again. And I think if we were in American League Park, he probably would have went the distance, and you wouldn't have seen any of us out there.
Jeff, how much frustration is there with you and Mike? You're in sort of a catch-22. You're on a team that's so good, and the starting pitching's so good, you don't get a chance to work a lot. And it's said so often of you guys that you need to work to get in that groove, to have that rhythm. Do you have any really good feeling when you come into a game that you're in a groove at all?
Well, you gotta you just concentrate and bear down. And you know, our starters have been great. I mean, they give us 7-8 innings, and then when it is time for us to come in. We're facing one hitter, and it is kind of tough. I mean, I threw all 3 games in the division series, and then only 2 in the ALCS. Only faced 3 hitters, so it's tough in a way. But you still you got to stay focused, and you try to get as much work as you can down there before the game or on the off days. So when you do come in tight situations, you can be successful.
You know, I was just commenting to Al how serene that clubhouse is. Not too much celebrating. You guys just take this as, you know, one more game?
Yeah, we're going to take each game one at a time, and tonight was a big win. We wanted to win the first game, especially away, and bring it back to New York. And we're going to go at it tomorrow the same way. I mean, tomorrow's a big day, and every win's a big win. It would be great to go back 2-0. We know what we have to do, and there's no celebrating until after the 4th win.
You have room for another ring?
I have 3 kids, and I need another ring. I only have 2.
Thanks, Jeff, for your time.
Thanks a lot.
All right, Jeff Nelson, good enough to join us here outside the Yankee dugout. Yankees win this one 4-1 to take a 1-game-to-none lead in the 1999 World Series. Back to Bill Daughtry.
Thanks, guys. Jeff Nelson recording one of 13 Yankee strikeouts on the night. Yes, each of the relievers had one, but the other 10 belonged to the starting pitcher, the winning pitcher, Orlando Hernandez. El Duque at the podium in the postgame with his interpreter at his side.
Hi. Joe Torre was in here and said that you would still come back to the bench and say, mistake, mistake, mistake. Where were all these mistakes, and why were you so hard to please?
Algo malo. ¿Dónde fue que tú hiciste malo?
Bueno, ese es un criterio mío y de que a veces si fallo un lanzamiento y no lo coloco donde me lo piden, me molesto conmigo mismo. Es mi forma de trabajar.
It's my criteria, and that's how I base my pitches. And oftentimes, if I ask to throw a pitch in a certain location and I don't put it there, I get upset. And it's just my way of pitching and my way of getting on myself.
Es como chequeando mi trabajo, ¿no? Revisando mi trabajo.
It's the way I review my work.
Well, Mr. Jose Cardinal getting a night off as El Duque's interpreter, one provided by Major League Baseball. But you need no interpretation for the effort by Paul O'Neill tonight. He was the first batter that John Rocker faced when he came into the ballgame tonight in the 8th inning with the bases loaded and 1 down. Well, O'Neill bouncing one through the right side. Chad Curtis will come home to score. Chuck Knobloch will come home to score. Jeter goes to 3rd, and the Yankees with a 3-1 lead off of a big hit by Paul O'Neill.
Well, could you just talk about the at-bat? Rocker jumps ahead of you with the quick strike, but you stay patient.
Real quick, yeah.
I think Cone said you might have swung at ball 4. Could you just go back and go pitch by pitch and tell us about the at-bat?
Well, I mean, we didn't have too many opportunities. Obviously, I always feel like the big run to score is the one that ties it. You know, Jeet came through and got a big run there, and you know, with bases loaded, you know, the pitcher gets behind. Obviously, you know, you're in a good position to hit, but you know, left-handers aren't going to make their living off a Rocker. There's no doubt about it. He throws too hard. He throws too well. We got a break. You know, I put the ball in play and it found a hole. That's basically the way I look at it. But I mean, it was a game of pitching. We got a couple breaks, and you know, when you score with those breaks as well as we pitched tonight, you're going to win. I mean, the bunt play was, you know, misplayed, and Straw comes in with a walk. I mean, that doesn't seem like a big deal, but that, you know, that's a huge play. I mean, Maddox doesn't walk anybody. I mean, and you know, he took some pitches, got another runner on, and once you get a few guys on, you know, something can happen, and it did tonight. And then, you know, as soon as you get Mariano in there, you know, it's usually good news.
Mel? What made Greg Maddox so tough tonight?
Well, he's always tough. Obviously, his control is the one thing, and for some reason, he gets you guessing with him. And as a hitter, you don't want to do that. I mean, you want to look for the ball, but you know, you start feeling in or looking away. And he had a really good changeup he threw to me tonight. That's what gave me the most problems. But you know, I talked to a lot of players too, and you know, after 4 or 5 days off, it's you know, you're kind of rusty. You're jumping, you're jittery because it's the first game of the World Series, obviously, and you know, he's going to use that against us too. I mean, he's that good a pitcher, so it's I've never enjoyed facing him. He's good, and to be patient and get a good pitch, I mean, you can't really slow the game down on him. I mean, everything's happening so fast. He just keeps pitching ahead, and
even if you step out, I mean, the next pitch is a strike, and you're right back to where you want. So he's a tough guy to face. There's no doubt about it.
Well, maybe the base hit is the wake-up call for Paul O'Neill. He has struggled throughout this postseason. You see his playoff batting average of 163. Well, he came into this postseason.
The company you keep. Sports Center.
33.
Win of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Proud to be celebrating our
2-1. Paul O'Neill, one of many heroes for the Bronx Bombers tonight as they take the
network. Go.com.
The next Sports Center will be televised. That's coming up in 1 hour. They're going to have the fight out in Las Vegas, more World Series coverage. They will have the NFL report that we promised. They got
walk in that rally. Remember the at-bat back in 1996? Well, Leyritz, the king, strikes again. We'll be back on MSG.
Hey, Yankee fans, join the New York Yankees fan club for kids.
Jenkins.
Animal sounds.
ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Proud to be celebrating our 20th anniversary. For more, log on to ESPN.com, part of the Go Network, Go.com.
Jump-started Atlanta's bid for its second World Championship of the 90s. But Paul O'Neill lifted the Yankees into position for a third title in 4 years. Which one's the team of the 90s? In college football, it's Bobby Bowden's Seminoles. The team of the year in the NFL, so far, the St. Louis Rams of Warner and Bruce, the league's only unbeaten team. The Redskins-Cowboys rivalry is reborn, and for the first time in years, they're fighting for first place.
ESPN Magazine's The Sports Reporters with Dick Schaap, presented by AT&T.
Good morning and welcome to today's edition of The Sports Reporters from our home in the ESPN zone in the heart of Times Square. We'll be discussing those subjects and more with William C. Roden of the New York Times, who lives within walking distance of Yankee Stadium. Mike Lupick of the New York Daily News, who lives within walking distance of a Connecticut country club. And Bob Ryan of the Boston Globe, who just loves to walk. Gentlemen, the 1999 World Series is underway, and the Yankees have won the opener behind El Duque Orlando Hernandez. Bill Roden, is he now Senor Octobre?
Yes, he is, and Atlanta will swear by it. You know, the only saving grace for Atlanta is that it doesn't get worse from here. I mean, I think it doesn't get easier, but it doesn't get worse.
Mike Lupick.
He's the only pitcher right now, pitching, who I would put in Pedro Martinez's class and what we saw from him in October. Right now, El Duque, and this is unbelievable, is pitching better than anybody the Braves have.
Bob Ryan.
Well, you know, Sparky Anderson once said, don't embarrass any catcher by comparing him to Johnny Bench. Let's not get carried away putting his name in the same breath with Pedro. However,
I'm talking about right
Michael,
now.
Michael, it's always fun.
Right
I just want to start off the show on a proper note, Mike, by getting you a little bit. Of course, he's the guy you'd want to pitch among all the pitchers on these two teams, including the guy who was another notch on his resume. Your question last night, Maddox couldn't close the deal.
What does this tell you, though, about the quality of baseball in Cuba? When Hernandez came here 3 years ago, none of us thought he was the best player in Cuba or close to it.
David Cohn said, though, that from the time he showed up, that he never carried himself like a rookie. He carried himself like a champion. Cohn has always said this about El Duque. He was an ace in his own heart and in his own mind from the day he showed up. Dick, everything that has happened in the last 2 Octobers for the Yankees was set up last year, Game 4 against the Indians. He's pitching to keep them from falling 3-1 behind. He was a star that night. He's been a star ever since.
But I think Dick's premise is correct because, as I recall, just memory from when he arrived here, it was serious questions that he wasn't a big fraud. That, remember, he came here on the mental coattails of his half-brother. Everyone knew how good we thought we knew how good he was. That's another story, what's happened to Livy and Hernandez. But there was a lot of questions as to whether this guy's credentials were that good at all. And so
I think your point, yeah, but I'm sorry, but I think that Dick's point was interesting just about the Cuban presence, not just
not just this guy. I mean, you saw Omar Linares play in Havana.
We were talking about the Pan American Games, well, I think it's 1991 in Havana, and there were some guys who were playing there, I mean, who we've never even heard of, who will never see the light of day here. But I think that what you see in the Cuban presence is a sort of maturity that comes from being so battle-tested before they even talk about it.
It's always been a great athletic nation.
Look, before the gate was shut, the curtain was drawn in 1961, we had just an era, we had Camilo Pascual here, who was a terrific pitcher, Pedro Ramos, who was a better pitcher than his record ever indicated because he played for the Washington Senators. Louis Tiant was already out, and we saw how good he was. He should be in the Hall of Fame, and so we know that the talent that you're alluding to was always there. So naturally, in the ensuing years, there had to be a lot of guys who were as good as those guys.
Bob, as great as El Duque was, the team is greater.
Yes.
Consider what we're watching right now. They are 8 of 9 in the postseason this year. The Yankees have now won 9 straight World Series games. They were 11-2 in the playoffs last year. The 8th inning last night, to me, is everything we have seen from this ensemble for the last few years. There was no great, dramatic, memorable swing of the bat. Single, walk, bunt, single, walk. This is who they are. They are one of the most professional clubs I have ever seen in any sport, and somehow it's never just one of them. It's like all of them.
And I think the thing at the time, we were down in Atlanta, we watched a lot of the New York Mets, and as exciting as that series was, what happened every game? Every game there were at least 7 runners stranded. You know, one game there were like 15 runners stranded. What the Yankees should, they don't make those kind of mistakes. They don't leave people on like that, and I think that's the big difference.
Well, one of the other differences, Bob, is that John Rocker last night in the last game against the Mets wasn't pitching the way he pitched a week ago.
Well, John Rocker had literally been pitching every day, and he may be wearing out. But I just want to make one more point about that 8th inning. Greg Maddux outsmarted himself, and the Yankees took advantage of it. Why did he automatically move to third base side after that pitch? Because its strategy normally is you bunt that way with first and second, and the bunt was a perfectly intelligently executed bunt that took advantage of that. So that's another plus in favor of the Yankees' intelligence.
And, you know, and one of the things we said coming into the series was the Yankees are so patient, but it might not help against pitchers who go strike 1, strike 2, and then he pitched way too carefully to Darryl Strawberry. Now he's got first and second, nobody out, and everything that happened after that started with that walk to Strawberry.
But if I'm the Braves, I'm really worried about this Rocker thing because, look, the single greatest strength the Yankees have is the fact that it's an 8-inning game if they're ahead. And now you thought you had that going for you, too, and you may not. Bobby, I think the thing, too, we can't discount, I mean, the Mets series is over, but you can't discount how much they took out of this team.
They wounded him. Bill, you are so right.
Okay, talking about wounding, there was a fight last night. I think the only people who got wounded was the people who watched it. Now that fight, Mike Tyson returned to the ring, and it was no contest.
Yeah,
I mean, it literally was no contest.
Tony Page is a terrific boxing commentator. Said, you know, we're so used to it that no contest sounds like a plea from Tyson and not a decision. But this was as bizarre as the ear biting in its way because Orland feinted Norris, you know, it's like he got hit in the head, apparently on the break, and immediately grabbed his knee. And my favorite part about this was after the round with that crack medical team that they had at ringside, you know, this is a knee that's going to stop the fight. He's shining a light in the Orland.
The knockdown punch was even shorter than the bite. He started further back with the bite.
My question is this a WWF ploy or a WCW ploy? Which one? Which book did they borrow?
Or a WWF. We'll take a break. When we return, the NFL. Emmitt Smith and the Cowboys started strong, but sputtered against the New York Giants Monday. Will the Cowboys come back against the revived Redskins?
Here is the highlight, and I say the highlight, end of the first round between Tyson and Norris. The bell rings. Richard Steele, the referee, tries to separate them, and then Tyson drills Norris with a left uppercut to the jaw. He goes down, and he twists his knee on the fall. He then said he sprained his right knee. Doctors concurred and said he cannot go back out there and continue the fight. Norris said it happened as a result of that late hit, and it's ruled a no contest. Tyson has not been paid. An update today following an MRI at Valley Hospital in Vegas. A nurse supervisor says the only thing that showed up on that MRI, a little fluid on Norris's knee, no other visible damage.
Whatever you say about me, good or bad, you got to have heart to even get in the ring with me.
Exactly.
You know, and what he just, the way he conducted himself, he should feel bad about himself. He should feel disgraced about himself. And the real fighter fight till they can't fight no more.
Well, now both of Tyson's fights following jail terms have lasted 1 round. In August of '95, Tyson beat an overmatched Peter McNeely and won by disqualification in the first round. And last night again, done after 1. Al Bernstein reports on this mess later on.
More than one player in this year's World Series has wondered out loud where all this Team of the Decade talk has come from. Maybe because, for the first time since the World Series was in color, there's a chance to settle the argument. The Orioles won more games in the 60s, the Reds in the 70s, and the Yankees in the 80s, but none of them won the most World Series in their decades. Game 1 last night in Atlanta. Bobby Cox and Joe Torre, rather, and Bobby Cox shaking hands. Cox replacing the flu-ridden 2-time Cy Young winner Tom Glavine with 4-time Cy Greg Maddux. Bottom of the first, El Duque. He should have had a Cy for this one. The inside cheese on Chipper Jones. Struck out the side in the first, bottom of the fourth. He gets Brett Boone swinging on the hook. El Duque fanned 8 of the first 11 Braves he faced. Number 12 was Chipper. Second time around, he takes Hernandez deep down the right field line. El Duque gave up 4 homers to the Braves in July at Yankee Stadium. Chipper's first of the postseason, the first Braves hit. Still 1-0, top of the 7th. Bernie Williams at second after walking and stealing second. After a strikeout and a pop-out, Greg Maddux gets Ricky Leday to end the inning, his 5th strikeout. He's 6 outs away from a win in relief of Glavine. Yeah, even Zim getting a bat in his hand. Top of the 8th, still 1-0 Braves. Runners at first and second. Chuck Knobloch with nobody out. The perfect bunt. Better than a sacrifice because Brian Hunter can't make the throw. Bases loaded, nobody out. Hunter had been inserted into the game for defensive purposes. And the next hitter, Derek Jeter, with 2 strikes, singles through the hole, scoring Scott Brocious to tie the game at 1 and leave the bases loaded. Bobby Cox goes to John Rocker to face lefty Paul O'Neill. Rocker, second best pitcher in the National League against lefties. O'Neill, the worst left-handed hitter in the league against lefties, but he breaks up the game with this 2-run single through the drawn-in infield. 3-1 Yanks. O'Neill beats the book and the Braves. 4-1 the final. The Braves getting only 2 hits, Chipper's homer and a 9th-inning single by Brett Boone off Mariano Rivera, who got the last 4 outs and whose last blown save was against the Braves just after the All-Star break in the same game that El Duque gave up 6 runs in 4 2/3. There was none of that last night.
He took control early, as did Maddux. It was one of those games that we just anticipated, and that they lived up to it, and I'm just glad we were able to, you know, get through in the 8th.
We're used to playing close games. We're used to being in 1-run games, and when you win enough of them, then you feel like, you know, you're going to win it again somehow.
The stuff was all right, you know. It ain't about pitching good. It's about winning, and you know, I pitched good enough to lose.
Yeah, Maddux certainly deserved a better fate, though. He has been a part of a loss in all 3 series this year, despite a postseason ERA of 2.14. The bright news for the Braves, their bats awaken for the other starters. The Braves have scored 19 runs in Kevin Millwood's 3 postseason starts. More on Game 2 coming up in 7 minutes. Chris?
Bobby?
Welcome to Atlanta's Turner Field. Atlanta, the site of Phil Niekro's Hall of Fame career. Although Niekro did not ever pitch in the World Series, the site where Kevin Millwood did not expect to start the 1999 World Series. Remember, originally he was slated to pitch Game 3. And the site where David Cone established himself as a big-game pitcher by leading the Yankees back from a 2-0 deficit in Game 3 of the World Series in '96. This evening, Cone attempts to put the hammer down on the Braves and give New York a 2-0 lead.
You just always know that they're going to be tight games. You know that because of Atlanta's pitching, that the margin for error is very minimal. And you expect 1-0, 2-1, 3-2 type games and potential extra inning games. And you know, in those type of games, it's usually the bench or the bullpen that makes the difference.
I was kind of looking forward to pitching there. I hadn't got to pitch there before. I missed pitching there during the regular season this year, and it's always been kind of a dream of mine to be able to pitch in that stadium. And what better time to pitch there than in the World Series. But it doesn't really matter to me where I pitch, but I guess if I had to pick a home or away, I'd much rather pitch at home.
Well, if you want to go with experience, you look at David Cone. More than 100 postseason innings. This is his 18th October start. 3 years ago, when Cone was beating the Braves, Millwood was pitching winter ball in Melbourne, Australia. Ray Knight joining us now. Ray, Cone with all the arm angles, and a man who can reinvent the pitch that he wants in the situation that he wants. Millwood, a different kind of pitcher who throws a straight four-seam fastball, but that riding fastball moves horizontally at a quick pace.
Yeah, he has 4 great pitches that complement each other. Probably the best in the league when it comes to complementing his fastball with a curveball, slider, and a changeup. What he does is he comes at you with a good breaking ball, real tight spin on the slider. You're going to see right here, that slider just kind of drops off the table. Very difficult for right-handed hitters to pick up. Then he comes back with his four-seam fastball and a big curveball. That's his curveball there. Straight down, 12 to 6 o'clock breaker. Then his fastball he locates that you talked about that runs away from left-handed hitters. And he has a real good slider there again that we see that's kind of gets a little bit more on top, a little more tilt. Then he has a fastball we didn't see that's a four-seamer that takes right off there. He's probably the Braves' best pitcher. On the other hand, you have Dave Cone, who you mentioned throws everything up there but the kitchen sink. David Cone has been a tremendous competitor, loves this type of situation, but you're going to see that he has all these different arm angles. He drops down, throws a fastball inside part of the plate, really works left-handers tight. He drops down with his breaking ball. He drops down sometimes underneath the ball to get the ball inside, but this right here is a pitch that gives other hitters so much trouble. That split finger, it gets down under, and then he comes right back on the inside part of the plate to right-handers, the outside part of the plate to left-handers, the backdoor slider. Then he drops the split finger there again. So you see 3 different fastballs at 3 different angles, 2 different sliders at 2 different angles, then the split finger that he pretty much throws from the same angle all the time. But he's so difficult because there's so much difference between his fastball and his split finger and the variance of his breaking ball. He's a tough customer.
Especially with more than 5 days rest, Ray, where his ERA is 2.47. With less than 5, it is 4.95. This evening, as he attempts Game 2, he is pitching with 9 days rest for the Yankees. That's it from here. Now back to the studio.
World Series Report is brought to you by New York Life. Integrity, humanity, strength. These are the values that have made New York Life the company you keep.
Well, after an odd and rather unproductive week, will Favre find Freeman again? Hank Goldberg offers his...
Our values are our blueprint. Integrity, our foundation. Every decision we make, every action we take is anchored in our commitment to always be there for our customers. Integrity is the foundation and the ink with which every policy is written. It's why New York Life is the company you keep.
It's beautiful. It's one of a kind. It's forever. It's your love. Celebrate it with custom designed jewelry from Roman Jewelers. In Flemington, Bridgewater Commons Mall, and coming soon to the Short Hills Mall.
Out here, it seems the wind never stops blowing. Build and remodel homes here, and you soon learn what you can and can't trust. Contractor John Miranda trusts only one window, Anderson. Ask him to use anything other than Anderson, and he'll ask you to sign a release. So his reputation remains solid.
Visit your local Anderson Excellence dealer, Updike Lumber Company, located off Route 601 and Reddington Boulevard, Belmead, and Frenchtown.
Tonight on ESPN at 7 Sports Center, at 7:30 NFL Primetime, at 8:30 World Gymnastics, and at 11 Sports Center. On ESPN2 at 8 PRCA Tour Rodeo, at 9 RPM Tonight, and continuous scores and news on the Bottom Line. And on ESPN Classic, beginning at 7, Classic Click and Pick, including the Sports Century profiles you most want to see again. Do you have all the ESPN networks?
Trying to bounce back in the Big Ten, the Buckeyes barely get by the Golden Gophers. Ohio State still has trips yet to Michigan and Michigan State. Ouch. Michael Wiley runs for 118 yards. And on the foot of 5 field goals, BYU beats UNLV.
Tennessee's T. Martin ran for 2 scores and threw for a third in a 21-7 win. The Volunteers' 5th straight over Alabama. And K-State spots O-State a 21-point head start in Stillwater, then blitzes the Cowboys with the next 44. Drew Bledsoe's the top-rated quarterback in the AFC, but his Patriots haven't beaten Denver since John Elway was a senior at Stanford. Who's Hank Goldberg like? Stay with us.
Today's Sports Century Classic Moment is brought to you by Budweiser.
Challenging the prevailing social tide, he single-handedly changed the face of baseball and America. A Hall of Fame second baseman, family man, civil rights leader, and national hero dies at 53.
Last time I saw him was at a World Series, and he died shortly after. He was blind at the time, was going blind from diabetes. Jackie Robinson, to me, was the best athlete there ever was.
Hey, Buckman. Follow up. Come on.
Like I'm gonna fall for that old trick.
Not so good.
All 4 barricades, huh?
Hey, prognosticators, news you can use, and plus the weather forecasts. Hank Goldberg's record to date, another 2 in 3 week. Now heading into week 7, 15, 13, and 2 ties. Well, it's a home game for Hank today, staying in Miami to cover the Dolphins and the Eagles. But we begin with the Saints, the Giants, the Meadowlands. Ricky Williams on that field, Hank, that sounds unproductive and maybe painful.
Yeah, it'd be painful to watch. I hope not for Ricky's sake, but here's a stat for you. Home teams are only 44 and 43 this year, another handicapping challenge. So I sought the advice of my friend Sleep Out, who's never home. And he told me, don't worry, New Orleans can't play on the road. Plus, the Giants held Emmitt Smith to 24 yards and the entire state of Arizona to 31. Ricky Williams has yet to register 100 yards with 35 last week. Kerry Blanchard's going to have to handle the scoring for the Giants now that Brad DeLuiso is out. No John Elway, no Shannon Sharp, nor Terrell Davis. Now it's Brian Griese, Byron Chamberlain, and Olandis Gary. The Pats can't run either, so teams are coming after Drew Bledsoe. I thought New England was fragile before. How are they going to react to 2 straight buzzer-beater losses? Denver over New England is a habit.
Wow, that's an interesting pick, Hank. Here's an interesting mix, however. Former CFL Grey Cup MVP Doug Flutie facing NFL Europe World Bowl champion and MVP John Kitna. Which QB will get the better of this one in the NFL today?